Tradoon.
Dirter. Dirter.
Shoot, Starlink is not working right now. I'm not necessarily convinced that it is going to work this summer. I don't know. The technology just, it isn't there yet, you know? I think they released it before it was ready. But anyway, yeah. Again, my name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist here on Twitch, trying to do some good old-fashioned science outreach in the best way that I know how. So here I am talking to you about fossils, about dinosaurs, about the history of life on our incredible planet from one of the places where we learn about that. Doling's Bowl in Utah. So this is not the name of a town or a city or even a region. It is like basically a little valley here in the Utah desert. We are, I guess, north of Moab right now. The Colorado border is just over there. And there are dinosaurs strewn about all throughout here. So I'm pretty excited to share this with you. And Iliamork says it's so worth it, the world needs all the science outreach it can get. Did anybody else see that coming? Just ambushed. My goodness. I don't think that's ever happened to me. There's a decent chance that the iguanodonts that we're digging up here might be a new species or a new genus. It's hard to say if they're the same, if they're coeval with Iguana colossus, and we don't have a lot of overlapping material. Like, what do we actually have from Iguana colossus? Do you remember?
It's a maxilla, which
It's
is upper jaw.
Upper jawbone, yeah.
Squamosal, which is behind the eye.
Mm-hmm.
A syringular, which is from the jaw. And then a bunch of miscellaneous bones from the rest of the body. So bits of limb, bits of vertebrae, ribs and stuff.
So in order to be able to tell if this dinosaur is the same one as Iguana colossus, we got to find some overlapping material.
So we need a squamosal and a syringular.
Yeah.
Because if those are the bones that have the unique features, you can't tell if they're the same animal unless we have the exact same bones to compare.
Right. So cross your fingers we can find some of those this year. Because I don't think we found any of those so far, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Anyway, that's why we're here, you know? So, everybody loves sauropods until they have to dig them up. Because they get truly large. And let's see.
Not the only one.
Have I done any international digs? I've not yet, Data 500. Not
Problem
yet.
is, they might not let them back in the country.
Hello? You butt dial me? Yes. Thank you for everything, everybody. And with any luck, I'll be streaming again tomorrow, maybe from the Ceratopsian site. We'll see. But yeah, hope you learned something today. Hope you had a good time. Hope you've got a newfound appreciation for paleontology and for the history of life on our incredible planet Earth. Until next time, everybody, you take care of yourselves, and let's go tune in to Science Streams. Yeah, that rat. It's a raven. Beelzebufo, the devil frog. Take a look at that. So this looks like a modern bullfrog here, and then devil frog, Beelzebufo. Holy moly, enormous. This guy is huge. Some of you saw this in Prehistoric Planet, but here it is here, cast in bronze. Very cool, very, very cool. And look at that big barrel-shaped rib cage there, just, yeah, pretty interesting. I was talking with some other paleontologists during the conference this last week about how different plant-eating dinosaurs would have fed. What style herbivores were they, you know? Were they hindgut fermenters? Were they, I don't know, doing something different in terms of how they're processing their food? With Triceratops, we do know that they actually processed their food a little bit in their mouths. They did chew to a certain extent. These guys have got what we call a dental battery, so they've got these hundreds of teeth all lined up in a row. And, yeah, this is, we know that they were at least slicing up their food. I guess you could call it chewing. although it would have been a different kind of chewing than what we do. Their teeth actually moved side by, like, they kind of slid past one another, almost like a pair of scissors. So unlike our teeth that just kind of mash like that, these guys, as they move their lower jaw up and down, those teeth would actually shear past the teeth in the upper jaw. Probably a pretty efficient way of processing food. So, good for them. Holy cow, Moloch Ice Cube, and welcome to Paleontologizing. Kudos to you. 5-year-old? Who's watching? Can you tell me what dinosaur this is? Who's got a packing peanut skewered upon its nasal horn? Who is this? Yeah. This is super, super cool. There's magnets on the back! Holy moly, this is awesome. Yeah. Very, very cool. Your favorite ceratopsian, Claire Burr? It's a good one for sure. Yeah. One of the more ornate of the ceratopsians. It is, of course, Styracosaurus. Yeah, Styracosaurus. Everyone loves Styracosaurus. Wouldn't otherwise have. That's pretty cool. That's one of the things that makes us human, that we can not only ask, where did we come from? How did everything here come to be? We can actually find the answers. That's incredible. That's really amazing. And it's, I think, one of the most noble pursuits that anybody could have. That's why I'm proud to be a paleontologist. So, yeah. I hope that works. Yeah.
Triassic, but also in the 21st century.
Yep. Plate tectonics never stops.
It never stops. So,
I promise I did not pre-watch this. Somebody clip that. He's right. Plate tectonics never stops. Plate tectonics, you know? Yeah.
Right there. How are you guys?
Oh, no.
Yeah. Thank you. It's cool to be this close to one of their descendants. Really neat. You're beautiful. You know that? Look at that eye moving around there. Beautiful.
We're just seeing that the diversity of dromaeosaurs is so high compared to what we thought, in the past.
That's so cool.
When I named Utahraptor, it was the sixth one ever named.
The sixth dromaeosaur ever?
Sixth dromaeosaur ever.
Shoot.
And now there's over 40, that are dromaeosaur.
Yeah. Did you, is that part of the start of the trend to name them raptor as the suffix? Was Utahraptor the second one with that suffix?
I'm not sure.
It was Velociraptor and then...
Yeah.
Utahraptor might be the second one.
Yeah, because, we were thinking, the Crichton book, and the whole bit.
Yeah.
And, and Bacher didn't name it, but he did say, you might want to name it for Utah. Because there was some political stuff. I was in Colorado, and my former state paleontologist and head of me didn't want anyone working for a group like Dynamation that I worked with the museum, working in Utah. So, it's like, maybe if you name it after Utah, they'll take it better. And I have to admit, it's probably why I'm now the state paleontologist of Utah, so it wasn't a bad move.
It's a wise decision, yeah.
Yeah.
Through the woods, and then you hear this, almost like a whale singing. Like a... And that was the wind whistling through those slats. They knew it would do that when they built it, but that was just the right design for the slats in order to provide the least amount of wind resistance, so the bridge wouldn't sway as much. But I guess, kind of a side effect of that is you get the sound. Fascinating stuff.
Wandering around, Danny, keeping out for my baseball cap.
Well, of course,
It disappeared during the Dust Devil. Oh, there it is. Wow, you're good, man. Ask and you shall receive.
Thanks, Don.
I
Yeah.
looked all around it and looked over there. There.
Yeah.
Hey.
Got your hat?
Yeah, it was just
Serious.
a tiny spot.
Oh, can we take a look at Don's running shirt of the day?
Oh, yeah.
This is our running series. Don's running shirt of the
It
day.
was just, I mean, that's just a squatter's ale.
Creatures striding across the open plains, eating tons and tons of plants. You don't really have very many of them today. You know?
It was a real surprise.
But Dr. Chin had a hunch that maybe these duck-billed dinosaurs had been snacking on something else entirely.
Ooh.
Vertebrates frequent rotting wood. So if those dinosaurs needed a good source,
Commodore says a creature the size of a Gundam. Commodore, that's brilliant. Yes. Yes. Yeah. I've never heard that before, and that's kind of perfect. That's only at the very frontier of my understanding what a Gundam is, but it's a giant Japanese fighting robot, right? Yeah. Yeah, you don't get plant-eating animals like that today. You just don't. But you did during the age of dinosaurs. Oftentimes the headline is new relative of T-Rex discovered. It's like, just let this dinosaur be its own thing. You don't always have to bring T-Rex into it, you know? But this is the thing, is that people are really familiar with this dinosaur, and that helps drive clicks and everything, and it's just a little frustrating that everything has to be all about T-Rex. But I can swing this around, I can open and close the jaws, I can stick it right up close to the camera, I can do all kinds of stuff with this. Lovely Lake Tahoe. I'm on the California side right now. Let me kind of turn this around so I can give you your bearings. So right now we're standing on the north shore of Lake Tahoe. There is the south shore. Way down there, that's South Lake Tahoe. That's west, that's the west shore. This is the California side over here. And that over there, off in the distance, those mountains are in Nevada. There we go. This is at the reception at the Minnesota Science Center on Wednesday night. Yeah. That's not even the animal moving that fast. It's not sprinting at 40 miles an hour or anything. It's just when you're that large and you've got a stride length that impressive. Oh, is that already a trash bucket?
It's like 2/3 trash, but we're not gonna throw it away. We're just gonna we'll check it out before we do. But
Cool.
okay. Any other container?
I can around. So imagine a world without grasses, basically. And prior to the early Cretaceous, you go back to the Jurassic period, no flowers. A world without flowers and without grasses. No flowering plants. The angiosperms are the group of plants that, you name a plant and chances are it's going to be an angiosperm. That whole group didn't even evolve until the early Cretaceous period. So instead, you had what we call gymnosperms and other plants like that. You had conifers, like pine trees, redwoods, stuff like that. You had ferns, you had cycads, horsetails and club mosses and spike mosses. But stuff like this, the sagebrush, this is a flowering plant, as I understand it. This is an angiosperm. These guys did not exist during the Cretaceous period. They had not evolved yet.
Oh, so fired. There was a big pile of rocks on top of it. Fisher. Oh, and it's on live stream too.
Oh.
You're so in trouble. Should we tell the story of why I am so upset?
Should we? Please.
I think so.
Yeah.
We have these nails that we use to make our mapping grid.
Yeah.
Later, if you want, I could show you one of the maps from last year.
Can you point to the nail right there?
Yeah, there's one here.
They're, as you can tell, Chet, they're kind of hard to spot sometimes.
Yeah. And there's little nails, and we have some larger nails.
Yeah.
That one says 50 east, 96 north. So the north line goes this way, east west line goes this way. And so when we map the bones, we have a little meter square that we put over, and then we draw our map on our little square of graph paper. And so that's how we map the bones in. And it's really nice to have the grid squares from last year, because that way it's consistent, and then we don't have to reset the grid, which also has some inaccuracies. So I always tell people the most important thing out here, even more important than the fossils or our health or having dinner, is to make sure that you do not mess with the nails. And so Fisher knows that well. He's been here for 3 seasons, and that one was kind of a vulnerable nail because we are moving dirt here. And so that we wouldn't mess with it, we actually put a big pile of rocks around it.
Oh. Well, that disguised the nail.
Covered it in
And
matrix.
somebody forgot that there was a nail under the pile. The tag is gone. No dinner for him tonight.
Bald Squirrel says, how do you shower in the desert? There's these wonderful things that I have I guess I've had them for every year in the field so far, called wet wipes. And so that's how I do a shower, with wet wipes. And thankfully I have plenty of those, which were actually contributed by our audience here on Twitch. So thank you, viewers, for helping keep me clean. I think that was last summer that those were sent to me from the Amazon wish list, so really appreciate that, everybody. Keeping me fresh and clean out here, to the extent that that is possible. We don't have showers or anything. We don't have electricity. We don't have running water out here. Yeah, we do have a propane-powered refrigerator, which we use sparingly, and yeah, a bunch of water that we trucked in here. But apart from that, we're roughing it, you know? Ouch. Whoa, little baby Triceratops! My goodness, I've never seen these before. These are brand new. Oh man, they're so tiny. I'm being mobbed by them right now. Look at that sorry brush. Holy cow.
This is what they're supposed to look like.
It's got a nice haircut. Yeah.
Pack rats got in and ate it all.
Hire him as my barber. But Danny, Yoko's my favorite beetle. There you go. So yeah, there you have it. Ugh. Top jacketing a limb bone from a new duck-billed dinosaur. Yeah. And Atlas Bird says, when did we realize that birds were dinosaurs? So it depends who you're talking about. Some paleontologists realized this very early on. And for others, it took a lot longer. But it was really like the mid-1990s that it was a done deal. It was clinched. Because we started finding fossilized feathers on dinosaurs. And it's like, oh, throw in the towel. That's it. All the people who are saying that birds evolved from some sort of crocodile-like ancestor and that dinosaurs were not very bird-like or whatever, it's like, nope, back it up. The evidence shows, the fossils themselves show birds evolved from dinosaurs. Dinosaurs had, some of them, full-on flight feathers.
We've got someone in chat who's a huge fan.
Really?
And, like, trying to direct us to you.
We've literally been trying to follow you.
It's like a scavenger hunt. They're like, he's passing exhibit.
We're moving too fast.
Yeah.
Sorry.
He's going into a purple room. We're like, okay, we think we're in the right ballpark.
Congrats on finding us.
But hey, there we go. So we just wanted to catch you real quick and say hi.
That is a really nice rig you've got. Wow.
Thank you. I
nice
appreciate
setup.
it. I worked hard to make it. It's
awesome.
It's a little finicky, but it works. You know?
No, same with mine. Yeah.
So, there you go. Well, pleasure to meet you. I'll shake
You
your
too.
hand.
Thanks so much.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
No,
Sorry it was such a wild goose chase.
Oh, thank you so much. We got a little pin. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Thanks very much. See you around. Oh, cool. Wow, we're famous.
Maybe you should set up a scavenger hunt next year.
Maybe.
Come find us and get a prize.
It's an interesting idea. We got out there this morning and bailed some water out of the iguanodon. Well, hello there, everybody. And welcome back to Paleontologizing. I hope you like the new clips opener like that. Something I was working on last week and just now had the opportunity to premiere it.
This is the Rosetta Stone of meat-eating dinosaurs.
And there is no such a thing as a Rosetta Stone in science.
Jody Fish.
A good day to be subbed.
Thank you for the 34 months of support. Really appreciate it, Jody Fish. I hope you're doing well. Welcome, everybody, to Paleontologizing. It's wonderful to have you here. Glad to be streaming, too. I'm significantly better than I was yesterday. Still not at 100%. Apologies for being late today, too. I went to Berkeley this morning to attend the paleontological seminar like I often do on Tuesdays. Train was late coming back, and then there's a whole thing where... Anyway, here.
I do call myself an expert in dinosaur studies.
Taddy Waddy, thank you for the 6 months of support. I really appreciate that, Prime. Thank you for that, Taddy Waddy. Thank you kindly. Yeah, I was further delayed in getting back because I got a phone call 2 or 3 weeks ago. I set up a dentist appointment. Figured I've not been to the dentist in like 10 years. I should finally, go to the dentist, get a checkup, get a cleaning, all this stuff. And, yeah, scheduled to tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m., all ready for that. I already canceled some other things so I could make it to this appointment, and then just as I was about to start the stream today, I got a phone call from the dentist's office, and they suddenly decided that they don't take my insurance. So, nuts to that, I guess. Back to the drawing board. So anyway, I'm not in the best of moods right now, but I'm glad you're here. I'm glad that I'm here. We're gonna have a good stream nonetheless. I don't know how long it'll go because I'm still a little bit tired, but yeah. We've got some fossil news to cover. We're gonna be doing some paleontological Q&A as always, and all that good stuff. So yeah. And that is a Plateosaurus skull in the background, Starma. Yes, indeed. Yeah. Thank you, Loonisaurus, for the 26 months of support. Really appreciate that, Loonisaurus. Thank you. Good stuff. Thank you, Loonisaurus. And MJ Builds, thank you for the 5 gift subs. I appreciate that tremendously. Thank you. Good stuff, MJ Builds.
MJ Builds really wants ukulele with those 5 gift subs.
That reminds me, I gotta update the sub goal. I will subtract 5 subs from the goal that I would otherwise do. So let's do Here. 145, that should do it. I think that'll keep me on track. Science, outreach, sub, goal. There we go. Yeah. And thank you, Lenina, for gifting Dabsgang. I appreciate that, Lenina. Thank you. Appreciate your generosity, Lenina, and MJ Builds. I appreciate your generosity too. There's 5 chatters who won't have to worry about any ads at all for the next month, and I appreciate it, MJ Builds. Thank you. Yeah. And Kenny HY says you always decorate your room amazingly. Thank you. Hey, I appreciate that. I did it quickly today, but yeah, I don't know. Been a lot going on. But things, I don't know. Things have been hectic, but things are good. I appreciate that you appreciate the changing background today. We'll be talking about I think, brand new prosauropod dinosaur today. A new species of, was it Chiu-Wulong? New basal sauropodomorph. I can't 100% recall if we already discussed this back in December, but the paper's officially been published recently. We'll be talking about that. And we'll be also going over some other fossil news today, too. But yeah. Starmus, is today's stream going to be about Plateosaurus? We're going to be talking about some relatives of Plateosaurus today. Like Lufongosaurus and some of these other basal sauropodomorph dinosaurs from the early Jurassic of China. We won't be able to look at the actual paper because, unfortunately, the journal it's in is paywalled, and I didn't manage to grab a copy of that paper this morning when I had library access at the museum. But that's okay. Yeah. And let's see. Suavorio, hey, I appreciate. Oh, from Claire Burr. Oh, Claire, I appreciate that. I'm gonna see if I can figure out if there's an OBS plugin or something that I can use to try and equalize volumes. But we'll see. We'll see. I also need to watch the VOD and see how bad the volume peaks and valleys actually are. But yeah. Got the editor right here. Not terrible. Okay, Claire. Yeah, thanks.
If you're feeling cheated, try blaming the dinosaurs.
Awesome cold open at Paleontologizing, and I'm glad to know you feel a little bit better.
I appreciate that, Golganek. Thank you. Yeah. This is the thing. The reason why I'm reticent to go in and change all of those volumes is that, here, I can show you. Those clips are randomized. So OBS is pulling those out of a folder in random order and showing them. Here we go. There we are. So there's a whole bunch of different clips here, and I'm going to be adding to these as people continue to clip things from Paleontologizing streams. I'll be downloading the best of those clips and putting them into this folder so that when we do the clips opener like that, it'll be different every time. That's the idea. But as a result, I've got 200 plus clips here, and they do have different volumes, and I would have to actually go into the folder, pull each of those out, put them into Adobe Premiere, adjust the volume, re-render them, and then make sure that the proper one is the one that's actually going into the folder and the old one gets deleted. It's just a lot of work. So, yeah, that would take a while. Exactly, Kenny HY. Anyway, I took inspiration from Ios about this. She has got a similar setup on her stream. Or her starting soon screen now are these like clips openers, and I think that's awesome. So, yeah, and hers is randomized as well, Claire Burr, yeah. Anyhow, it's good to have everybody here. For anybody who's new, by the way, where are my manners? Let me introduce myself real quick. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. So a paleontologist is a scientist who studies fossils. I work on dinosaur fossils in particular. Dinosaurs are what I study, what I publish on in the scientific literature. Dinosaurs are what I talk about at scientific conferences. Dinosaurs are what I dig up during the summers. As you saw in that clips opener, I do a lot of digging live on stream now. For the past 2 or 3 years, I've been lucky enough to broadcast live from the field. to show you firsthand what it's like to collect fossils and collect data out in the Badlands of Wyoming and Utah and maybe some other places this next year too. I'm very excited to get back out there. It's going to be a busy summer, and I'm excited to take you along. Anyway, believe it or not, this is how I make my living. Streaming, like this. When I'm out in the field, it's 7 days a week. But back here in civilization in the off-season, it's usually 4 days a week nowadays. This is how I try and communicate my science to the public. By answering questions, by going over some of the latest scientific papers published in the literature, trying to decode them for you, translate the jargon, make it understandable to a lay audience, to try and show you how paleontology works to the best of my ability. That's the whole idea here, hence the name Paleontologizing. I'm trying to show you how paleontology works. Not like it's some dusty book up on a shelf somewhere, some arcane collection of facts. No, paleontology is a process. It's an ongoing thing.
Gifted a tier 1 sub. This is
Thank you, Flug, for the gift sub. I appreciate that, Flug. Thank you for your support. So yeah. Anywho, yeah. So that's what we're all about here. Today we're going to be going over some new scientific papers. We'll be talking about that new, we'll find out if it's actually new. The sauropodomorph dinosaur. And let's see what else we've got on the agenda for today. So there were a few other things that I wanted to discuss also. Here we go. We've got a new PBS Eons video that we could look at, if we're so inclined. We've got a paper on the histology of terror birds, these giant carnivorous flightless birds that terrorized the Cenozoic era. We'll be talking about them too. The new giant flying squirrel as well. Galara Dragon.
Ontogeny.
Thanks for the 42 months of support. I appreciate you, Galara Dragon. Thank you. Keeping me here online for the past 30 months or 42 months. Giving me two different figures there, but I appreciate you either way, Galara Dragon. That's a long time. I appreciate you for it.
Here's some objects. Gorgeous,
and Glorious Sun.
Authentic. Because though they died out so long
Thanks
ago,
for the 17
their
months.
fossil
Thanks for
bones
the Prime.
remain, so we know just what they were
Good
like
stuff.
and can even sculpt them into still, or rather extinct, life.
Good stuff, Glorious Sun. Appreciate that, Prime. Thank you. Like I said, this is my full-time job. This is how I make my living, is streaming here on Twitch, and if you appreciate that, if you want to see me continue doing this, consider subscribing. You can even do it for free with one of those Amazon Prime subs, if you happen to have Amazon Prime. But I've been incredibly lucky to be able to bring science outreach to the people. Thank you, MJ Builds, for those 5 gift subs. Thank you for that. Good stuff, MJ Builds.
MJ Builds just changed things with those 5 gift subs.
Oh yeah. Thank you, MJ Builds. Appreciate it. We'll see if we get to our sub goal this week. Given that I missed yesterday, I was feeling a bit under the weather. We'll see if we can make up for that on Friday. Mark Melbourne, thank you for the 10 gift subs. And look at this lovely Tinamou bird that you've summoned. So excited about 10 chatters not having to watch any ads for the next month. Look how excited this bird is. I mean, shoot.
Mark Melbourne is overloading the system with 10 gift subs.
Thank you, Mark Melbourne, for your generosity. Appreciate it. Excellent.
Tradoon.
Phenomenal. Here, let's take a look at our schedule. Don't actually have anything, any special days or anything planned for this week, but let me fiddle around with this just a bit.
the bowl. There we go.
It's squashed completely flat. The
How
bone
flat?
wall is so thin, it's about the same dimension
As
as
what?
the wall of a dirter. A dirter is one of those.
Oh,
things
yeah.
At the end of the paper
Say it with me
towels,
now.
Dirter thing in the middle, you go dir in it. Well, that's what this thing is like.
Yeah.
Paleo salute, paleo salute.
EB Knight, thank you for those 9 months. I appreciate that. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Dirter. A dirter.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Here, that reminds me, pterosaur bones really are that thin, and I'm really pleased that we were able to see that firsthand when we were in North Dakota at the beginning of the month. It's during this stream. Here. Pull up that transcript. There's my old crew chief Denver Fowler right there. Pterosaur. Maybe it wasn't this one, maybe it was the other one. But yeah, those pterosaur bones are incredibly thin. Like, I wasn't kidding. Yeah. Maybe it was this one, though. There it is.
One of those. Very nice. Super cool. And again, just I want to highlight how thin the bone is on the pterosaur wing right there. This is kind of a running joke on the channel. There was an old Paleo World episode where there was a...
So, you all know this, chat, but I was explaining this to Denver and everybody else in the lab. Dirter, what are you talking about?
Clip of Kevin Padian talking about the thinness of pterosaur bones. And he goes, the thickness of these bones, it's a lot like the thickness of a dirter. A dirter is one of those paper towel tubes that you blow through. Dir. And so it's just like a wonderful soundbite from that. But it's really true. I mean, look at that. Just incredibly thin.
It's not even potato chip thin.
It's
stupid thin.
Thinner than that.
Wild. Yeah. It really is like a dirter. Yeah.
And that long wing bone there, that was...
Yeah,
when she was done with it, we let it sit in a sandbox for a while, just thinking about how do we cradle this.
Yeah.
This is not going to be any standard method, but eventually we thought it's something that works.
Nice.
I don't like touching that one.
And this is, we're quite fortunate with this site that often pterosaur bones are completely crushed flat.
Yeah.
And here, there's crushing, but there's just enough three-dimensionality that you can add enough glue and with careful prep get out both sides, which is not always possible with pterosaur bones, or very rarely possible, actually.
So anyway, good stuff. I'll give you a link if you'd like to watch, because this is such a cool stream. We were so lucky to be able to go through the collections in the lab here at the Badlands Dinosaur Museum. Just what an amazing opportunity. Being able to learn from Steve Clausen too, who's like a master fossil preparator. Very much highly skilled professional. Got to take a look at all of these cool odds and ends in the collections here. There's a Tyrannosaur tooth there that Denver's holding. Got a real behind-the-scenes tour of the Badlands Dinosaur Museum. Pretty incredible stuff. And even got a sneak peek at some of their upcoming stuff like, like right here. Well, the ceratopsian in the room. Do you want to talk about this, Denver?
Because this goes back to
Sure, I mean,
2012.
This is something that Danny dug up with us back when I was at the Museum of the Rockies, a graduate student there. It's a site that I found in...
let me get on this side over here.
2010?
No, it's 2012 you found it.
I found it in 2012.
Thescelosaur, yeah.
Yeah, we thought it was a Thescelosaur, but I presented about this here at our own conference, and you may have read a little bit in places, but we found a Leptoceratops bone bed, and we...
So the Denver named the site, he called it the Leggy Blonde site, because the bones were of dinosaur legs. Originally, we thought they were Thescelosaurus. Didn't dream they were Leptoceratops, because Leptoceratops is so rare. Turns out it's not actually that rare. But anyway, Leggy Blonde, because the bones were of dinosaur legs, and they weathered this really interesting kind of blonde color. Almost like a straw or like a really light yellow. So they called it Leggy Blonde after the Flight of the Conchords song.
Maximum settlement today for a whistleblower. I'm glad we got her that, and proud of her for standing up, but I'm angry that it was necessary.
Oh, and Mikey Likes, well done. Thank you for the 100 bits. Good on ya. Protecting whistleblowers and all that. Good work, Mikey Likes. Good work. Anyway, yeah. So, really, really important fossil site right here. It's almost a shame that it's got such a goofy name. It's after the Flight of the Conchords song. Let's see if I can find this.
Goodbye. Now that you are gone, I'll never see you here for tech repair. Wish
Yeah.
you knew how much I loved your legs and your hair. Leggy.
Anyway, very goofy song. And that's where this quarry got its name. It's gonna turn out to be an extraordinarily important dinosaur site. Once it gets published, you know, people are gonna be talking about it. And it's got a very goofy name. Yeah. Hey, Sweetie Pie, how are you doing? Well, it's been a while since you've been on stream, huh? In fact, it's been a while since you've gotten any treats, huh? Yesterday when I was trying to get some rest, Sweetie Pie was very happy about that, because she could just lie on top of me and take a nap. She's very keen on doing that. But she's also keen on getting treats. So, yep, time to pay the rent, XVR. Yes, indeed. Let's make sure... Yeah. Let's make sure that our landlord here gets her rent paid, huh? Yeah. There we go. There we go. There you are. Look at that. These are for you. You gonna eat them? Ooh, good stuff. Dazzy Cat says have to make up for a day of rent/treats. You know, I feel like I've been paying extra recently, so I think that covers it. Anyway. And MJ Builds, hey, thanks for being here. I appreciate you. I'll see you around. Have a good rest of your day. Good stuff, sweetie. Anywho. Ms. Art Rules says, I shared the Thanksgiving turkey you made with the class. I had a pit. Oh, very cool, Ms. Art Rules. Very, very cool. I've shared that with some Birds people before. Some people from the Golden Gate Audubon Society, and they really liked it, too. Yeah. Anywho. Yeah. And Starmus says, any plans for the 9th of March? That's when Mary Anning died? I don't have my March scheduled out yet. We usually do a huge Mary Anning stream on her birthday, which is in May. Is it May 18th, I think? May 21st. 1799. Yeah, every year we do a huge Mary Anning stream on May 21st, so presumably we'll be doing the same thing again this year. I'll show you some of the VODs if you would like to take a look. Thank you, Cobalt Reaver, for the 2 months of support. I really appreciate that. How are you doing? It's good to have you here. We are part of a fun stream today, everybody. If there is one figure in the history of fossil science who is universally revered by paleontologists, everyone absolutely adores her, it would be Mary Anning. If you were to survey all of the fossil scientists in the world and ask them, like, who is the one person from the history of paleontology that you most look up to, you most admire, you have the most reverence for, Mary Anning, I guarantee you would come out as number one. Probably ahead of, people like Charles Darwin. Mary Anning's story is an incredible one for a number of different reasons. Her story is at once tragic and inspiring. And anyway, parts of it... Well, I'll give you a link to this if you want to watch it. But, yeah. Yeah. Mary Anning. Good stuff. If anybody else has got any questions, now is the time to do that, because I'm going to be getting into some fossil news in just a minute here. Oh, and I'll give you a link to these streams too. The North Dakota ones, which were a ton of work to set up, and honestly really expensive. Really, really glad we did them, and we raised a lot of money for the Badlands Dinosaur Museum. Check out those VODs. Anywho. Yeah. But let's take a look at some of this fossil news, shall we? And hang on a second. Yeah, there's a lot of these in the UK now, aren't there? A lot of different conventions. Is this the one with the Stegosaur logo? Yeah. I think this is art by Natalia Jaglieska. I don't actually know how to pronounce her last name. But yeah, I'm not in the UK, so I will not be attending this. Because it's going to be... Yeah, I'll probably still be in the field at this point, or at least there's a good chance that I will be. I'll be out digging up that new iguanodont in Utah while this is going on. But I will, hopefully, with any luck, be in the UK for the very first time for SVP this year, for the big Society of Vertebrate Paleontology meeting. Going to be in, well, of course, the crown jewel of the British Empire, Birmingham. Everybody loves Birmingham, right? The pride and joy of the United Kingdom. The 85th annual meeting of the Society of Vertebrate Paleontology will be held in Birmingham this year. The International Convention Center, and this is our big international conference for vertebrate paleontology. So if you're a paleontologist who studies animals with bones, then chances are you're a member of SVP, the Society of Vertebrate Paleontology. There's one big meeting every year. This is it. This past year it was in Minneapolis. I was very lucky to be able to attend. This year it's going to be a tad more expensive and difficult to get to. But I'll be going with any luck. So that'll be excellent. Anywho, yeah. Niffler says they could not have sent you somewhere worse in the UK. There's a lovely museum there that the reception is going to be at, presumably. It's going to be good, you know? To any UK viewers watching right now, do not worry. I know maybe you don't have the fondest view of Birmingham, but I will definitely be assuming that the whole of the UK is exactly like Birmingham, so it will color my perspective of the British Isles in general, just so you're aware. I'm sure it's going to be great. My expectations are sky high. Couldn't be higher. And where is the UK? Asked Pimpcat. The UK is short for the United Kingdom. Here, I can show you. Yeah, this will work. Lenina, thank you for gifting Swims with Whales. I appreciate that. Thank you. So, here, this globe might be a little bit out of date, but it'll work. So the UK is right here. So there's the island of Great Britain, there's the island of Ireland. So as you can see, they're pretty close to mainland Europe and also mainland North America right here. So I can't quite walk there from where I live, which appears to currently be underwater. Right there. In the San Francisco Bay Area. But, you know, it's not too long a swim, I suppose. Yeah. Alternatively, I could walk down to South America and then walk across Africa. And then I might be able to kind of island hop over here and then get up into there, but, you know, yeah. Anyhow, bicycling distance is Dharma, yeah. Anyway, like I said, this globe might be a little bit out of date, but you get the idea, you know? Yeah. Is it out of date when it predates it, says Murph? Yeah, I'd say so. Nice world, says G. Georgie. Thank you, GG Georgie. That's, yeah, it's good stuff. Jokes aside, this is
dinosaurs, the terrible lizards.
Canadian Songbird. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. For the benefit of Canadian Songbird, great name, and anybody else who might be new, this is a wonderful tool where you can look at the position of Earth's continents at different stages throughout Earth history. So 105 million years ago here. Yeah, let me refresh this so it's not in the dark there. There we go. Yeah. So 105 million years ago, this is like middle of the Cretaceous period. Sea levels were a lot higher back then. South America and Africa are just starting to separate. Europe, as it will continue to be for a good while, is an archipelago of islands in a shallow kind of subtropical sea up here. Here is Asia. India is still an island. It's still connected to Madagascar at this point. But it's kind of cool to watch India move because it really moves. 66 million years ago, this is the very end of the age of dinosaurs. And then it's just getting ready to slam into mainland Asia and push up those Himalayan mountains. Wow, there it goes. But yeah. Hey, Legend, hope you're doing... Oh, thank you, Canadian Songbird. I appreciate you. Things are going okay. Been a little under the weather lately. Still not feeling 100%, but I'm here, and we're gonna have a fun kind of low-key stream today. And hey, Dyson Dinosaur, how are you doing, Filippo? I hope things are good. It's good to see you. Let's take a look at a little video. A little animation here. That'll do it. Oh no, this is projected into the future. That's not what I want. Here we go. From Pangea to today. So this is basically what things looked like at the beginning of the age of dinosaurs, in like the, middle Triassic, let's say. No, we want one where they actually move. We don't want a slideshow here. That'll do it. Yeah. Oh, so this is going back in time, which is also not what I want. Goodness, where's the one that I like? Here, let's go to Pangea. Is going to be about 250 million years ago. Height of Pangea. Here we go. Yeah. So, North America, South America, Africa, India, Antarctica, Australia. There's Asia up here. There's a better one somewhere too, but this will work for right now. Yeah. There you go. We usually do a big stream on continental drift on the birthday of Alfred Wegener, who is a German meteorologist, weather scientist, who nonetheless kind of helped establish this idea of drifting continents in the early 20th century. He was ahead of his time in a lot of ways and didn't actually have a good mechanism for what would drive continental drift, which is why the idea wasn't widely accepted during his lifetime. But his hunches were correct, even if he didn't have the details right. And today we kind of celebrate him as a researcher who was ahead of his time. Anyhow, yeah. And Starman wants to know, is any paleontology known from India? No, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, we've got a lot of cool fossils from India. It's kind of crazy in that there are so many important, interesting fossils from India and in India, but we have very few people actually studying them. Particularly like
MS Artrus gifted a tier 1 sub
Sour
to
Fox.
_songbird.
Oh, Ms. Art Rules, thank you for the gift sub to Canadian Songbird. I appreciate that, Ms. Art Rules. Thank you, thank you.
That's the dinosaur man.
Thank you, Sour Fox. Thank you for the prime. Thank you for the 3 months. Appreciate that, Sour Fox. Thank you, thank you. What was I saying? Yeah, domestically, there are not many people studying fossils in India, especially dinosaurs. Maybe not especially dinosaurs, but from the perspective of a dinosaur paleontologist, knowing that there are many really cool, interesting, important fossils still in the ground in India, and knowing that India is becoming kind of a powerhouse of scientific research in some ways, it's really disappointing and kind of baffling that India doesn't seem to be developing a domestic program for the study of Mesozoic vertebrates like dinosaurs. That being said, there are some dinosaurs from India that are getting some good treatment in popular media. Here's an interesting example.
Every spring, females leave the safety of their forest home to make a perilous journey into these badlands.
These are kind of titanosaur called Isosaurus. There was a lot of volcanism at the end of the Cretaceous in India. Tremendous amount of volcanic activity. So this is trying to illustrate that for you.
They can pick a safe route through cooled, hardened lava. But there are other dangers here.
Steph Lyrics, hey, welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to see you. Glad you got a gift sub from MJ Builds. That's lovely.
In addition to the steam, a deadly mixture of carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide spews from volcanic vents.
So this is the sort of thing that was going on in India at the end of the Cretaceous.
Pre-dawn air, these heavy gases sink to create a barely visible, suffocating blanket. Just a few lungfuls can kill.
Otter Do It says, looks like Fresno in the summer. You're not wrong. Although there's fewer political signs with troubling slogans on them here than in Fresno.
But isosaurs have one crucial advantage. Their long necks can keep their heads above this blanket of poisonous fumes.
Starmer says, does the volcanism have to do with India crashing into Asia during that time? I'm not sure. I don't actually have a good answer for that. I know that India was, at this time, it was an island. So, again, we'll go to 66 million years ago here. There we go. So at that time, India was an island, and it's starting to make its northward journey. In fact, it's really kind of cruising at this time. It's already separated from Madagascar, and it's moving north. The rate at which it moves might have something to do with starting to move over hot spots or thin places on the Earth's crust. Maybe there's like a mantle plume coming up or something. I don't know. A good person to ask about that might actually be Volcano Doc. At least, thank you, Claire Burry. Way ahead of me, yeah. Volcano Doc is a real-life volcanologist, and she streams here on Twitch. And if there's anybody on this platform who might know that, imagine it would be her. Give her a follow, and yeah, she does all kinds of cool science outreach here on Twitch, mostly talking about volcanology, the study of volcanoes. But yeah.
But ahead lies a place where this will be hard to do. They're entering a low-lying area where the deadly gases are particularly thick. And for these females, something is already wrong. And worse.
So I don't want you to think that all of India looked like this, a volcanic wasteland at the time, because it didn't. These are big animals that require a lot of food to eat. They're plant eaters, so there would have been lush floodplains, full of juicy plants for these sauropods to dine upon. this is just trying to show you this volcanic area like this full of craters and lava pools and stuff like that, because they're all journeying here in order to lay their eggs. That's the idea. Yeah.
Relief at last. And ahead, their final destination.
So, what this is trying to show is kind of an echo of what sea turtles do today.
Island in the sky.
So, like sea turtles visiting islands or beaches in order to be able to lay their eggs and give the next generation kind of a head start, the idea here is that these titanosaurs, these big sauropods, they're going on this big journey to be able to lay their eggs in a safe spot in this barren territory where there's not going to be a lot of predators to eat their babies. Does that make sense? Think of it like mother sea turtles journeying hundreds or thousands of miles to lay their eggs. That's what these guys are doing.
Rising
Gals,
high
I should
above
say.
these treacherous badlands. The huge crater, a caldera, provides a safe communal nesting ground. The surrounding sea of poisonous gases helps to keep predators away. And the inbuilt geothermal heating makes it an ideal incubator.
Does that make sense? So a lot of this is speculative. Here's the thing, is that we don't actually have direct evidence, to my knowledge, that dinosaurs like Isosaurus were actually laying their eggs in calderas like this. But when the producers of Prehistoric Planet, when people like Darren Naish, who's like head paleontologist in production, when they were trying to come up with these storylines, like, well, we want to show dinosaurs from the very end of the age of dinosaurs, from the Maastrichtian stage, the end of the Cretaceous. We want to have them do things that make sense. If we're showcasing India, let's showcase some dinosaurs from India, and let's have them do things that make sense for India at that time. India had a tremendous amount of volcanism going on at the time. Let's see if we can incorporate that into the story. Let's draw from the behavior of some modern animals, like sea turtles, and take some behaviors that might make sense from them for sauropods, and let's throw that in there. It's cool stuff, you know? Yeah, they do a pretty good job. I agree, Kenny HY, absolutely. Yeah. Anywho, yeah. And salamander, there might be evidence that some dinosaurs were nesting in volcanic regions. I guess so.
Each mother digs a 7-foot trench in the warm sand.
I can't think of any off the top of my head, though.
Over 20 melon-sized eggs.
Yeah. Anyhow, hope that makes sense. And how would the baby survive the poisonous gas? I think it's like months later, after the eggs have incubated, the weather changes, and I don't know, the gases have dissipated or something like that. It might be a seasonal thing. I don't actually remember. They might even talk about that in the next scene. Here.
After 2 days of trekking, the baby's reserves are...
Here. Not exactly what I was trying to find. Here we go, baby.
There are strange sounds coming from beneath the sand. Baby ichthyosaurs are calling to each other from inside their eggs.
Oh. Icysaurs. Dinosaurs, yeah. You should watch Prehistoric Pony. You'd love it, Ms. Art Rules. You'd love it. And you can see the little egg tooth right there, too. This is like some birds have. And maybe some other sauropsids as well, some other reptiles. Got this, like, temporary protrusion on their head that later falls off, but that helps them break out of the eggshell.
The babies are relatively tiny, less than a foot long. There's nothing to eat except their mother's dung.
Yeah.
Surprisingly,
maybe that's not as cute,
nutritious and important to the hatchlings in other ways too. It introduces healthy bacteria into their guts.
Yep.
And it also contains pheromones that, like smells, will enable them to find their mother's herd.
So there are a lot of modern animals that do that. Well, they'll actually ingest their parents' dung in order to be able to get their gut flora really going. So, like, usually baby animals like this are not actually born with a full complement of gut bacteria. Digestion is a tricky thing. Being able to take in various foods and then process them in such a way that you're getting enough energy out of them it's tricky. We as human beings, for instance, have got this huge complement of bacteria in our guts that they're foreign organisms, you know? They are not human cells. They belong to a host of other species, and yet they live in our guts, and they break down our food for us. In eating it, they help break this stuff down so that our bodies can actually process it. It's really amazing when you think about it. And it's one of these things that I think it's a luxury to not have to think about it, because if you do have a problem with your gut flora, that's really lousy. So there's some people who have to think about this all the time because, something's wrong with it. But this is something that we have to develop through ontogeny, throughout your individual life history. Individual organisms, they're not born with those gut bacteria. Those gut bacteria have to get in there somehow. And for a lot of critters, they do that through eating the waste of the adults of their species. I think mammals sometimes get around this through mother's milk. I think mother's milk might contain some of those bacteria, the kind of gut flora that they'll later need. Or if it doesn't contain the gut flora itself, if it doesn't contain those bacteria themselves, then it at least helps create the right kind of environment for those gut bacteria to thrive. Not exactly sure how that works. But yeah. And Charlie's Dragon says mother's milk contains a lot of food for the gut flora, at least. There you go. Yeah. Again, I'm not an expert in this. I don't know exactly how it works. There are other people who know this a lot better than I do. But yeah. I'm not sure if there's an explanation of how the babies get out of here without succumbing to those toxic gases, though. We'll see.
It will lead them to the safety of the forest.
The gases dissipate, says Crimson Carnothoris. Okay.
But the journey isn't easy. But many dangers lie ahead for the young icysaurs.
Oh no! Anywho, not all of these guys make it. But many of them do. If you'd like to watch the rest of the clip, I'll give you a link. And there we go. Thanks, Claire Burr, for posting a link to how you can watch Prehistoric Planet for free. You can get a free trial of Apple Plus TV or whatever they call it. I'd highly recommend it. You can even do a little survey at the end where it's like, why did you sign up for this in the first place? Well, I wanted to watch Prehistoric Planet. That's what I did. Yeah. I'd love to see more stuff of this variety being made, you know? Such an excellent series. As somebody who does science outreach full time, this makes my job easier.
Prehistoric planet.
Paleo art and paleontology has always gone hand in hand. And paleo art has inspired, but the science, the hard science, has educated. And I'd like to think that we are doing our part in paleo art and pushing that boundary.
Well, this series is about authenticity on every level. So it's authentic in the way it's filmed. The animals are absolutely authentic and accurate in their depiction, the structure,
mostly,
what they look like, but also what they do. Because
I wouldn't be much of a dinosaur paleontologist if I couldn't nitpick a few things that I would have done differently. But again, that's like getting super into the weeds about this and that. Like, this series is phenomenally well done. Anything that I would have changed would mostly be stuff that maybe I disagree with other paleontologists about, stuff like that. It's very difficult to find anything where it's like, well, that's an outright error here or there. Very, very difficult to find anything like that. It's mostly like, well, you know, this is an idea that came from that researcher, and I think she's wrong about this. Stuff like that, you know. It does you very, very close to the actual science, and I think that's phenomenal.
the key to this series was not just showing dinosaurs, but about their behavior.
Dinosaurs provided, in my experience, a wholly unique challenge in that they are not fantastical. They are 100% real, and more importantly, for our program, it was so important that we got them right. Everything we did, every decision that we did.
I'll see you later, Chaotic Kitten. Thanks for being there.
The best science and the best theories available to us. The mass, weight distribution, size of teeth, and how often they change their teeth and replace their teeth. All that stuff, the scales, the latest ideas of colors. From what I understand, there's chemicals left in fossilized feathers that give you hints of what colors dinosaurs actually are.
And if we've ever come up with an idea that hasn't really been supported by science, we haven't gone with it. We think that many dinosaurs were very flamboyant, very show-offy animals. We show certain of these animals behaving in mating displays. We look at the behavior of the animals that surround our extinct dinosaurs in the family tree, a technique called phylogenetic bracketing. We're able, on the basis of postures that we see in crocodilians and birds, to infer what was present in extinct dinosaurs. Should Tyrannosaurus rex have eyelids? Well, crocodiles and alligators have got eyelids, and living birds have got eyelids, so we can be pretty confident that Tyrannosaurus rex would have eyelids too, and we use that method across the series in informing our decisions.
T-Rexes have always been portrayed as very skeletal, I think in part it was to make them feel very monstrous and evil, but in fact, once we layered on all the muscles and fat and skin that would be required to sustain that sort of mass and all that stuff.
I'm not sure what's going on right here with the... This must be something to do with the animation where they've got to kind of truncate the... You know, like the... Did they take out the premaxillae right here? Or what's going on? Why has it got an underbite? You know? What's going on with that right there? It's got to be something particular to this animation program or something like that. Because that is incorrect. But later when they put the flesh and skin over it, it looks fine. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. It'd be interesting to get an explanation.
That sort of mass and all that stuff ended up very large dinosaur.
Yeah, because that looks great.
Very different than anything you've seen before. I think the best way to think about animators were puppets, puppeteers, you know. So
and it could be salamander, yeah, it could be.
The rigging team attaches strings to that puppet for us to move, and animators move the puppet around.
It's honestly a lot like playing with
little
Alvarez
or Mononicus.
You know, like just like when you're a kid, just like, you know, rah, it's gonna go over here. Like, it feels like that. So this is a scene from the desert bloom sequence with Mononicus. It's a very highly specialized dinosaur. We know that it lived in the desert and likes to hunt insects.
Beautiful.
And it has these little stubby little claws, and like with claws like about 7.5 centimeters long. They're similar to like a pangolin or like an anteater, where they will like use them to dig into a termite mound. We really just try and filter in what we can see from birds into this. I came across a golden pheasant, which was very spurty, like it would run quickly and then stop and then like cock its head and then run again. And so I felt like, this kind of felt like this very long-legged dinosaur with these strange head gestures. So I really wanted to push that character for this dinosaur. So here's the scene where we've got the log brought in along with the Mononicus, and so like I will be grabbing these controls and like moving this guy along, grabbing the foot and like taking a step or doing a jump, and we will refine this and show this to Dr. Darren Naish to see if we're following the science. Does this make sense for the anatomical structure of a Mononicus? Once we've gotten the animation to a point that we're happy with, then we send it to lighting department and the groom department, and they'll light the scene. Fur gets put on the dinosaur.
Feathers in this case.
And they will, compositing will make that dinosaur fit in the environment.
Mocap it. Yeah, let's go back in time and get a Mononicus. Put those little ping pong balls all over it. Film it in front of a green screen there, so Sebastian looks in.
They are extraordinary animals with individual.
Anyway, yeah, if you want to watch the rest of this, here's a link. It's only a little while longer than this. But, yeah, they did a phenomenal job, and like somebody said in the chat earlier, this is kind of the thing to beat now. This is the new standard for what a nature show style documentary about dinosaurs should be. They really kind of knocked it out of the park, and yeah. The new Walking with Dinosaurs comes out this year, and the bar has been set very, very high. We'll see if it holds up. I was gonna say I'm optimistic. I'm not optimistic about it, honestly. I've already heard some very mediocre things about the new Walking with Dinosaurs, but I hope I am pleasantly surprised. We'll see. Yeah. Anywho. Yeah. With that said, let's get into some fossil news, shall we? Yeah, we've got a new prosauropod dinosaur, terror bird histology, a new giant flying squirrel fossil. Might be a new taxon of giant flying squirrel from the Cenozoic of the southeastern U.S. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into some fossil news here. All right. Welcome to Fossil News. Here's what we'll go over first today. Paleohistological analysis of terror birds. Forest rakids. Paleobiological inferences. You know how much we love histo on this channel, so talking about this. Yeah. And Gravity 1960, thank you for that. If somebody wants to put a link from the Discord into chat, we'll take a look at that when we're done with this. Maybe. Thank you, Gravity. I really appreciate you. Holy cow. Good stuff. And Lewis Jamieson, how are you doing? Welcome back. Yeah. First, a little bit of background. What is histology and what are terror birds? Terror birds, the forest rakids, are these giant flightless birds that lived during the Cenozoic. We lived during the Cenozoic too. Cenozoic is the so-called age of mammals. So it's after the Mesozoic, the age of reptiles, heyday of the dinosaurs. When dinosaurs all go extinct, except for some birds, well, the mammals kind of take over. But that comes with some caveats. At different times during the Cenozoic, the big dominant terrestrial carnivores were not mammals. Sorry, sweetie pie. No, sometimes they were giant, flightless, carnivorous birds. Like this. I'm not sure which taxon this is. I don't think it's Kalenkan. It's got a much deeper bill than that. But, yeah. That's a bird that has just killed a horse and is about to eat it. You can see why they're called terror birds, perhaps. These are really fascinating animals. Maybe it is Kalenkin, actually. But yeah, they're impressive animals. They really are. It's kind of funny that, like, when the big theropod dinosaurs go extinct, these guys decide, like, you know, we're going to take up that mantle. We're going to evolve into a form that's very reminiscent of our giant carnivorous dinosaur forebears. Pretty neat. Oh, hello, Sweetie Pie. Sweetie is just very keen on cuddling right now. Aren't you, Sweetie Pie? Yeah. Oh. Alright, she heard mammals and she's like, that's me, I'm a mammal. Yeah, it's true. You are a mammal, Sweetie Pie. I am too. Yeah. You want some more treats? Is that what you're after? Is that what you're after? Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Okay. We can make that happen for you. We can make that happen for you. Time for treats. And how is Moon Pie? Oh, Moon Pie is doing great. She got her cone off. She is back to her old self. If we're really lucky, she might even come say hello at some point. Yeah, during the Cenozoic, during the Age of Mammals, which is ongoing, mammals like Sweetie Pie here, or like me, or you, chat, you know, most of the large-bodied, especially terrestrial niches, but a lot of the oceanic niches too, are taken up by mammals. Mammals, who are a group of organisms that they feed their young with milk. Many of them, most of them, nowadays give birth to live young. These are the animals that, you know, when you think about... Well, here. Just do a Google image search for animals playset. And let's see how many of these are mammals. Every single one of these is a mammal. Every single one of these is a mammal. Every single one of these is a mammal. Interesting, in the oceans, only one of these is a mammal, the dolphin right there. But yeah, I don't know. When most people think of animals, they think of mammals. I see a crocodile in there. I see an Australian frillneck lizard. I see some kind of a bird. Could be a goose or something in there. But apart from that, looks like just about everybody in here is a mammal. Mammals are, you know, they're all over the place nowadays. Mammals of the world. Mammals of the world unite. You have nothing to lose but your chains, mammals of the world.
I can see that my 50,000 a year has been well spent.
Almost a year soon, right?
I think so, Charlie's Dragon. Holy cow, 44 months? At tier 3? I appreciate that, Charlie's Dragon. Thank you, thank you. Not just for that incredible level of support, tier 3 now. Thank you for your moderation work too, Charlie's Dragon. I really appreciate you. Thanks for being one of the cornerstones of this community. Seriously. Appreciate the heck out of you. Thank you. Anyway, what am I saying? Mammals, they're everywhere nowadays, you know? But it's interesting in that certain times during the age of mammals, the dinosaurs kind of make a comeback. Birds decide, hey, we're going to get big and carnivorous and start eating these mammals at various times. And the forest rakids, the terror birds, as they're sometimes called, are a good example of that.
I can see that my
Salamander.
50,000 a year has been well spent.
Holy moly, Salamander.
Dance, paleo dance.
Tier 3, 24 months there, Salamander. Thank you, thank you. Phenomenal. We got a hype train incoming. That's beautiful. Thank you, Salamander, for everything you do. Again, like Charlie's Dragon
has provided scientists with many dramatic fossil discoveries.
Oh, Per K, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. Salamander, brings me joy to see you here in the chat every day. I appreciate you more than you know. Thank you for the ongoing support at tier 3. That's nothing to sneeze at. I mean, what? What? That's nuts, tier 3. Thank you for that. Good stuff. And one of our tireless mods. Yes, indeed, Lenina. You're one of those too. Oh, yeah.
If you're feeling a bit cheated, try blaming the dinosaurs.
And Ms. Art Rules, thank you for the 100 bits. We got a hype train going here. Beautiful. Thank you for that, Ms. Art Rules. Thank you. Yeah. Wish I was tireless. You're beyond tireless, Claire. You're so tireless that you get tired. You do so much, Claire. Holy cow. Yeah. Sometimes you do so much work that it's impossible to be tireless. You know? And that's you. Anywho, terror birds. That's what these critters are. In a world of mammals, they're chalking one up for the dinosaurs. You know? Let's see if I can find you a clip. Here we go, from Life on Our Planet. This might work.
A male terror bird. His territory is the lakeshore.
Here, I'm going to show you a different clip, actually. Let's try this one. So this is... Here. Gotta explain another concept here real quick. Great American Biotic Interchange. So this was... Here we go. About 2.7 million years ago. Which would be what? Like Pliocene? Yeah, in the Pliocene. You got all these animals from South America and North America that suddenly get to mix. Because North America and South America finally stopped this whole will they, won't they thing. And they finally kiss at the Isthmus of Panama. Suddenly there's a link between these two continents, and animals can walk across that narrow land bridge. So you get migration north of these creatures in South America, and migration south of these creatures that previously had been restricted to North America. Suddenly, these two faunas can mix together. And so the terror birds, who had held sway over South America, suddenly they could walk across a land bridge, move north. So that's what's going on here.
At the same time that Titanus was here in North America, there was...
Nope. And Golganek, thank you for the 100 bits. Appreciate that, Golganek. Thank you, thank you. Good stuff. It's a little bit goofy, but bear with me. Interesting. As for the behavior, who knows? You know? But terror birds, interesting creatures. I'm trying to give you some sort of a context about what they're all about as animals. This new paper that we're looking at right here is a paleohistological analysis of terror birds, I think as a group. So this might be kind of like a survey of histo of these animals in general. In histology, like we were talking about extensively last week, this is when you cut those bones open to look at the interior. And in doing that, you can tell things about how fast the animal was growing, what its metabolism is like. You know, you get some information about its life history, all that good stuff. So I'll show you a quick clip to kind of help underline these points here.
Hi, my name's Lisa Herzog. I'm in the Paleontology Research Lab here at the museum. And in front of me, laid out, I have a femur of a fossil theropod dinosaur known as Acrocanthosaurus.
Yeah, this is like one of the more underappreciated of the big megatheropods, at least among the general public. But let's jump to the histology part.
Now that the specimen's off display, one of the things we are doing with it is conducting additional research on the specimen to help with the body of research on this particular animal. The process we're doing is called creating a histological slide, or it's also known as histology, which means that we're going to be looking at the specimen on a microscopic level in cross-section. So what we have to do for that is cut the specimen in half. Before we go through this whole process, we consult with other members of the department to make sure that this is a worthwhile venture, because it is a destructive process. So I've already gone through the first step of this process. I cut the bone in half, and then I cut a section out of it. And here's what it looks like now. After this section was cut out, this little slice, I embedded it in a clear epoxy resin for stability. I'm going to be polishing this real smooth and gluing it down to a slide. And then we're going to polish it even more so it's very, very thin and transparent, and we can look at it with light transmitting through the slide on a microscope, and we can actually see the cellular structure of the bone. One of the things that this can tell us is how an animal grew, if there's any sort of pathologies, meaning if it had any kind of diseases, it'll show up in its bone, and it'll help us understand how old this animal might have been when it died. Was it really, really old? Was it a teenager? Was it still growing? We can tell that by looking at the specimen in this way.
So that's crucially important to understand, especially for dinosaurs, or non-avian dinosaurs. But for avian dinosaurs, for birds, it can also be really important. So that's what this paper is about. You know what terror birds are? Now you know what histology is. Let's take a look at it. Here's a link to this paper right here, and thankfully... Oh, there we go. Thank you, Claire. Yeah. This is open access. No paywall.
Access granted.
So this was just published the other day. Let's see. Published 24th of February. That was yesterday. Let's take a look at the abstract here. So this is a short summary of the paper. Then we'll go through really briefly, look at some of the figures, that good stuff. But let's take a look at this summary, the abstract. So it starts, extinct flightless birds of the clades Phorusrhacidae and Brontornithidae. That's the Phorusrhacids and Brontornithids. Usually when you hear terror bird, that refers to Phorusrhacids, but I have also heard Brontornis and its kin be referred to as terror birds as well, which is interesting. Anyway, they're among the most characteristic elements of the South American Cenozoic faunas. So these are important animals from the Cenozoic of South America. If you were to do like paint a mural of different South American Cenozoic animals, you would be remiss to leave these guys out. Important component. Although the anatomy, systematics, paleoecology, and distribution of these birds have been analyzed in some detail, we know a thing or two about what their bodies looked like, how they're related to one another, what they're doing in their environments, and where they lived at what times. There's not a single work detailing the osteohistology of these taxa. Nobody's really cut open all the cut open these bones and then written about that in a way where all of the information is in one paper. So this is exciting. This is going to help drive forward our understanding of these creatures.
Glue is...
Herein, we present the first time paleohistological data for foresteracids and brontornithids. So for Patagornis and Brontornis. So I guess just 2 taxa. But in taking one taxon from each of these families, we can start to hopefully develop an understanding of what's going on broadly across the terror birds. You want a good representative from each of these 2 families, rather than just doing 2 from the same family or 1 from the, that makes sense? Hopefully that's self-explanatory. Anyway, getting into what they found, a dense, vascularized fibrolamellar matrix and an uninterrupted cortex lacking growth lines indicate similar metabolism and physiological attributes occurring in most extant birds. And they differ from the condition of insular taxa or species living in very stable habitats. Okay. So what does this mean? Their bones are not that different from living birds in terms of what's going on inside. Oh, there's cat slobber on the desk. Give me a second, I'll be right back. Birds today grow in a way that's, in a lot of ways, very different from their dinosaur ancestors. Birds tend to grow very quickly. They don't have this prolonged, years-long growth like non-avian dinosaurs did. So dinosaurs grew very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. Here.
Who lived in colonies, and he's found evidence they actually cared for their young.
This is the tibia, the shin bone.
Right.
And this is a little less than a month old.
So this is from a dinosaur called Maiasaura. Big duckbill dinosaur lived in the late Cretaceous of North America, Montana. It's a state fossil of Montana.
Claws on the wings are once again invaluable.
Dr. Irrefutable. Hey, thank you for the 22 months.
Whoa, coming up on 2 years. Hello from sunny Los Angeles.
Hello from sunny and beautiful San Francisco Bay Area, Dr. Irrefutable. I hope you're having a good time in LA. Thank you for your ongoing support there, Dr. Irrefutable. Now at tier 2. What? Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Anyway, Maiasaura. So yeah. Here's the chin bone, the main bone in the lower leg, the tibia, right there.
Bone.
Right.
And this is a little less than a month old. And here is the same bone.
Of an adult?
Of a 1-year-old.
A 1-year-old.
So what's crazy is that that's not full grown. Not even close.
500 bits goes a long way towards supporting science. Our tweet here on Twitch.
Gal
There
rocks.
are 5 fingers on a monkey's hand. I learned it on social media, so I know it's true.
Thank you, Gal rocks, for the 500 bits. This is in reference to what I had tweeted on Blue Sky the other day. Posted the Blue, whatever you want to call it. Yesterday, I think. Yeah. Anyway, try not to get too distracted. Hogan, thank you for the 25 months.
50,000 a year has been well spent.
Thank you, Hogan.
J25 Amish Metal Quest J25.
I really appreciate that, Hogan. Thank you. The 25 months of support. Now at tier 3. Holy cow, Hogan. Holy cow, I appreciate that. Good stuff. Yeah, and again, thank you for the 500 bit Scout Rocks. I appreciate that. Sorry, we might get to that in a few minutes, but I want to make this point first, talking about this in fossil news. So, tibia of like a hatchling, very, very small juvenile, and then a 1-year-old. Dinosaurs like Maiasaura grew extraordinarily quickly. This is from a paper from Holly Woodward, I think, looking at their histology, trying to trace how much these animals grew at different stages of their lives. We can figure that out by cutting those bones open, looking at the growth rings from different stages of animal. Here's a really neat display from Museum of the Rockies talking about this. Right here. So there we go. Embryonic, small nestling, up to adult. So even though these dinosaurs grew really, really quickly, they still had a ton of growing to do, and it took years. Because they're going from an animal the size of a chihuahua to an animal the size of a Ford F-150 in just a few years. But it still takes a few years for them to get that big. Modern birds are not like this. Most modern birds will grow very, very quickly, but they'll reach adult size, full adult size, in like a year or two. There's a few exceptions. I think ostriches and emus might take a little bit longer than that, but even they grow extraordinarily quickly. And that's because all of the birds that we have today all survived this evolutionary bottleneck at the end of the Cretaceous. There was just a few species of bird that survived the end Cretaceous extinction, and all of those birds could fly. So all of the flightless birds that we have today evolved from a volant, lighted, flying bird ancestor. And so they've all inherited this kind of like growth pattern like that, where they're growing really fast, and they're getting to full adult size in like less than a year, usually. Or a year or two, something like that. But the point is that they grew different from the way that non-avian dinosaurs grew. And Delithos says you can see a growth spurt? Absolutely. Yeah. No, this is what we do in dinosaur paleontology. This is one of these indispensable tools that we have. Like, looking at the growth of these animals. Here. I'll show you a clip. Yeah. Anyway, the study of growth and development in dinosaurs is one of these things that it almost kind of feels like a new frontier. In a way, I think largely because it should be standard practice now, but a lot of paleontologists are really kind of hesitant to really embrace the study of what we call ontogeny. The study of how individual animals changed and developed during their lifetimes.
Ontogeny.
Because they look so different at different stages of growth that, oftentimes...
Ontogeny.
Juveniles, like fossils of juveniles, will be given a different name than the fossils of adults. It'll be assumed that, like, oh, these must be different dinosaurs. They look so different. They've got to be different organisms, right?
Ontogeny.
And, yeah, it turns out that they're not. It doesn't get discussed enough, I think. But there's often a hesitance to really
ontogeny
appreciate the dramatic changes that can happen through ontogeny, because it means like, oh shoot, all of these different dinosaurs that have been named are not actually new dinosaurs. Sometimes, many times, they're just more juvenile or more mature specimens of dinosaurs that have already been named. It's a big thing in dinosaur paleontology. I know we talk about this a lot, so long-time viewers here are probably thinking, Danny, can we get through a single stream without talking about synonymization of taxa through ontogeny? But it's important. So anyway, yeah. And there you go, multiculturalist James. Yes, indeed. Yeah, this is a little bit controversial. Partly because I think
ontogeny.
Yeah.
Problem. People assume that if they had little dinosaurs, if they had juvenile dinosaurs, they'd be easy to identify. You'd have a big dinosaur and a littler dinosaur. But all they had were big dinosaurs. And it comes down to a couple of things. First off,
I agree, yeah.
Scientists have egos. And scientists like to name dinosaurs. They like to name anything. Everybody likes to have their own animal that they named. And so, every time they found something that looked a little different, they named it something different. And what happened, of course, is we ended up with a whole bunch of different dinosaurs. In 1975...
Anywho, yeah, so this is still controversial, but you can go through and look, you can do histology like this.
They let you do that by looking, right? You go into a museum and they take really good care of them. They put them in foam little containers, and I mean, they're very well taken care of.
He's talking about dinosaur fossils.
They don't like it if you come in and want to saw them open and look inside. So they don't normally let you do that. But I have a museum, and I collect dinosaurs, and I can saw mine open. So that's what I do. So if you cut open a little dinosaur, it's very spongy inside, like A. And if you cut into an older dinosaur, it's very massive. It's very, you can tell it's mature bone. So it's real easy to tell them apart. So what I want to do is show you these. In North America, in the northern plains of the United States and the southern plains of Alberta and Saskatchewan, there's this unit of rock called the Hell Creek Formation that produces the last dinosaurs that lived on Earth. And there are 12 of them that everyone recognizes. I mean,
it's closer to like 20 nowadays, but the point is that by actually looking at some of these that appear to be closely related, kind of subtly different, by actually like testing the hypothesis that these are different animals, if you do histology and you start looking at the texture of the bones, you start looking for lines of arrested growth, trying to actually like figure out what's going on internally, then it starts to become obvious in some cases that what we're looking at is not 3 different dinosaurs, but different growth stages of the same dinosaur. For Pachycephalosaurus, Stygimoloch, Dracorex, it might actually be slightly more complicated than this because, there seems to be some heterochrony going on. It seems like we don't actually get full-grown Pachycephalosaurus in the uppermost Elk Creek, at least not yet, but anyway. Yeah, you can kind of get rid of these names. It seems like these animals are not actually different critters. It's the same animal, or at least the same lineage over time. No real evidence of cladogenesis, so the same lineage, non-splitting. And you can kind of do this again and again with these different dinosaurs until
In at number 8, we have the Tradoon. Tradoon.
All of a sudden, thank you for the 10 months. Appreciate that very much. Thank you, all of a sudden. At tier 2, no less. I appreciate your ongoing support, Sutton. Thank you. Yeah.
And therefore, we could take out another dinosaur. So, when it comes down to our end Cretaceous, we have 7 left. And that's a good number. I mean, that's a good number to go extinct, I think. Now, as you can imagine, this is not very popular with 4th graders. 4th graders love their dinosaurs. They memorize them. And they're not happy with this. Thank you very much.
Anyway, a lot of paleontologists, a lot of dinosaur paleontologists also very much not happy with this idea. It remains controversial in some of these cases, like, Torosaurus, Triceratops, but that's the thing in science, is that if an idea is true, there will be evidence of it. We'll figure it out. Scientists might have egos, people might be very fond of certain ideas, but in the long run, in science, we figure out what's true, Because it's not about which ideas appeal to us best. It's not about what makes us feel good. At the end of the day, every scientist should want to know what's actually going on. What's really true? What's real? And so eventually, you follow the evidence where it leads, and it leads you to what's real. So, we could be wrong about this whole ontogeny thing. It could turn out that, all these definitely are different species, but we'll see in the long run, The evidence will lead where it leads. It's our job to follow it, as scientists. Anyhow. Yeah. And No Talent Idiot Writes Music says, why don't we just sequence the COX-1 region of the genome? Yeah, because we don't have any DNA from these animals. We don't. Otherwise, this would be easy. But yeah. And Square Chap, you got a Paleontologizing t-shirt today. Very nice, Square Chap. I hope it serves you well. Thanks for buying that. Yeah. Pursuing the truth and sharing it on Twitch. Salute to that. Thank you, Casey. Hey, I appreciate you. Thank you for helping me do that through your mod work and your support, Casey. Yeah. Miguel Rock says, I think the 4th graders will forgive you eventually, unless you take away the Tyrannosaurus. Try not to do that one. Luckily, Tyrannosaurus is one of the first dinosaurs named from the Hell Creek. So it has what we call nomenclatural priority. When we have to decide whether we get rid of one name or another name, when it turns out that they're the same critter, the name that was published first is the one that you keep. Tyrannosaurus was published before, say, Nanotyrannus. And so if we have to get rid of one of those names, Tyrannosaurus is the name that we keep, if it turns out that they're synonyms. So yeah. Anywho. Yeah. Anywho, histology. We've gone far afield here, but it's not just good for non-avian dinosaurs, it's good for avian dinosaurs too. And lots of critters. So looking at in birds tend to grow in a different way than their dinosaur ancestors, than their non-avian counterparts. They tend to grow more quickly. And it's interesting, that's what they found here too. They differ from the condition of insular taxa or species living in very stable habitats. That's interesting too. So we actually do get good lags in these birds. In certain birds, when you cut the bones open and look for lines of arrested growth, sometimes you don't find those. Sometimes you don't get those growth lines if the birds are growing in such a steady way, or if they're growing super, super quickly, sometimes they're done growing before they can really get, like, a lag. Birds can be tricky in terms of histology. That's not what's going on here. Seems like these birds they're living in a rather seasonal environment, so there's certain times of the year when they're not growing as much, and that's when you can get those clear lines. That's what I'm taking from this abstract, at least. So this is congruent with recent analyses indicating that forest rakids were very active birds, lacking insularity-related attributes. Okay, that makes sense. It's not like they're living on small islands and... yeah, they're running around doing their thing on the mainland. It also supports recent growing evidence indicating that these birds' extinction may be related to climatic and environmental changes, rather than being the result of competitive displacement by immigrant placental mammals. That's really interesting, too. That's a big implication from this paper. I'm interested to see their argument here. But there is an idea that when you have that Great American Biotic Interchange happening, when North America and South America meet at the Isthmus of Panama, and suddenly these creatures can walk across the land bridge and invade each other's continents, there's this long-running idea that, like, the guys from the north really kind of win out. And that's why the terror birds go extinct, is that they were outcompeted by things like big carnivorous cats and wolves and things like that. That's been kind of a long-running idea. This paper's pushing against that, which is interesting. This figure is not to scale, by the way, just to make that clear. Yeah. And Bullprop has got a good question. What's the difference when a clade has a morpha at the end of it? For example, Crocodilomorpha versus Crocodilia. So usually Morpha, M-O-R-P-H-A, that's like a larger clade. And then you've got you've got the true crocodiles, and then Crocodilomorpha is the larger group that includes the true crocodiles and a bunch of other crocodiliform relatives too. Does that make sense? Yeah. So yeah, like Charlie's Dragon said. Yeah. But yeah. Yeah. Are you sure? It looks pretty spot on to me, says Casey Smart. Yeah, I don't think these animals were actually this big compared to the continents they lived on. Yeah. But yeah. And Galrock says, it just occurred to me that the tree ring comparison for bones makes a lot of sense. Because some animals probably have to change their diet seasonally based on plant availability. Yes. Yeah. And this is why a lot of animals have their babies in the spring. Because in the spring, just after winter, suddenly there's more food available. And if you want to give your babies a head start, have them at the beginning of the springtime. That way they've got the longest period of growth before the winter hits again, and there's less food available. That's why a lot of birds will have their babies in the spring. This is actually something that I was talking about with Denver when I was in North Dakota at the beginning of the month. We were talking about pigeons. You know, rock doves. Columba livia. These lovely animals. Yeah. These guys, one of the big reasons for their success, why they've been able to spread out across the globe and live pretty much anywhere that people live, is A, they're just kind of naturally comfortable around people. Just an instinctual thing. But another thing, too, is that they can rebuild their populations really quickly. Because they feed their babies something called crop milk. And this has to do with seasonality. I'll get to that. Bear with me here. But it's going to take a minute to explain. Yeah. Here, let's take a look at this. Pigeons are a unique group of birds. Parent pigeons feed crop milk to their squab. The squabs are the babies. Crop milk or pigeon milk is a semi-solid yellowish liquid. It is extremely high in protein and fat. So pigeon crop milk consists of a suspension of protein-rich and fat-rich cells that help grow a squab very fast. Very nutritious. Food contains 60% protein, 36% fat. Crop milk begins to produce 2 days before the eggs are hatched. So anyway, the babies are just, you know, they're drinking this crop milk. They're consuming it straight out of their parents' mouth. So unlike mammals that feed their young through milk through nipples, pigeons will actually regurgitate this stuff. They'll produce it in their gut, and then they'll feed their babies with it. Surely they nicked that idea from mammals, says Svi. I mean, it's an independently evolved thing. It's an original idea. Crop milk. Trademark, copyright, registered symbol. Anyway, the point is, and this is what Denver was telling me, it makes a ton of sense. Pigeons can have babies year-round. Whereas other birds can only have babies in the spring, oftentimes. If you're a kind of bird that, I don't know, say a swallow, or a thrush, or been having these lovely birds coming to my feeder lately. A Bewick's wren. There we go, these guys. These guys mostly eat bugs. They'll provide a good example here. Bewick's wrens have their young in the spring because they feed their young insects. If you live in a part of the world where it snows during the winter, then, I don't know, it can be really difficult to find insects when there's snow all over the ground. So you gotta wait till springtime until you can find insects so that you can feed your babies. Pigeons don't have this issue. As long as an adult pigeon can find food, whether it's insects, whether it's French fries, whether it's hot dogs, or grain, or whatever, as long as the adults can find enough food to eat, they can produce that crop milk for their babies. So pigeons can reproduce at any time of the year, whereas these birds have got to wait until there's insects around. You got to wait till springtime. So the availability of food and the seasons often dictate when animals can reproduce, just based on the availability of food like that. Does that make sense? Likewise, there are certain animals that don't get nearly as much food during the winter as they do during the spring and summer and fall, I guess. And so you see in their osteohistology, the growth rings in their bones, you can see when the lean times are and when the good times are. You can see when their bodies are really growing because they've got plenty of food, and then you can see when they've had to kind of slow down their growth because there's just not as much food around. That makes sense? Yeah. And Mizart Rule says, seagulls must have their babies year-round. No, I think it depends on the species, Mizart Rules. I'm not sure. Yeah. I'm not sure which different groups of birds produce crop milk, but I think it's several different kinds. I don't think it's just Columbidae. I don't think it's just the doves, like pigeons. It is found among all pigeons and doves, which is referred to as pigeon milk. Gee, Mom, can you go to the store and buy some more pigeon milk? Yeah. Crop milk is also secreted, here we go, from the crops of flamingos and the male emperor penguin, suggesting independent evolution of this trait. Now, unlike in mammals, where typically only females produce milk, crop milk is produced by both males and females in pigeons, flamingos, and in penguins only by the male. Interesting. Wow, so this is... Huh. I thought it was more widespread in birds, but it's just doves, flamingos, and emperor penguins? Huh. Interesting. Yeah. Wild. Mary Space says it's also flamingos, yeah. And in flamingos, it's red. Which is pretty wild. Here we go. So, look at that. Oh my goodness. We have one flamingo who is drilling its beak into the top of the head of the other flamingo, and look at it bleeding like that. Oh goodness, right? Here. Yeah, look at how grisly that is. My goodness, why would they do that? It's not blood. That's their crop milk. It's red. Yeah. So this flamingo is regurgitating it onto the head of this other one, and then it's running down the bill. So these are two parents cooperating to feed their baby. Presumably, maybe this is dad and this is mom, or maybe vice versa. But they're like, yeah, let's feed Junior at the same time here. Pretty cool. It's red because of the food that they eat. So they're capturing all of these little crustaceans who've got all these carotenoids in their bodies that kind of give it that red color. Here, I'll show you. And yeah, filter feeding is time consuming, One Butthole. You're right. They gotta save time where they can. There you go, Casey. Yeah. Oh, the chicks have got a straight bill? Must be a different species, you know? Wow, look at that. It looks, you know, like it should be a flamingo, but it's got to be a new species. Look at the different cranial morphology there, you know? No, you've got these dramatic changes in ontogeny. You know, the bill develops that curve as the animals are growing and developing. Yeah. And there you go, Charlie's Dragon, yeah. Yep. There you go, Gimp Leg, yeah. Nest robber, yeah. Wow. Jeez. Any chatters can relate to that, perhaps? Nicolinian, yeah. Nice. Huh. Cool stuff. Here, I'll give you a link to that from See? There you go. How did we get on this? We haven't even gotten through the abstract yet for our forest rakids, but, oh, there we go. Yeah. We were talking about histology, we were talking about seasonality and feeding and that kind of thing. But yeah, so this paper also supports recent growing evidence indicating that these birds' extinction, terror birds, may be related to climatic and environmental changes, rather than being the result of competitive displacement by immigrant placental mammals. So there's a difficult thing about the Great American Biotic Interchange, is that... Well, hang on. All those juveniles in the background straight up looking like a flock of a different species. There you go! Cuckoo, yes. Again, that's the thing, is that you gotta think about ontogeny. Sometimes the juveniles look like a totally different species from the adults.
Ontogeny.
And you would be fooled unless you do things like histological analysis. Unless you cut those bones open.
Ontogeny.
For dinosaurs at least, to figure out who's young and who's old. You'd never know. That instead of two different species, they just look very different at different growth stages. That's why this sort of thing is so important. Anyway, welcome, Cuckoo. It's good to have you here. Back to this. So, with our terror birds, these guys up here, and the Great American Biotic Interchange, it's difficult to pull apart the different variables here to try and figure out what's going on. Because a bunch of these South American guys go extinct when these continents link up. And kind of the easy glib answer is like, well, the animals from North America just outcompeted them. Suddenly, when you get all of these guys thrown into the mix together, when you can walk from the southern tip of South America up into the Yukon of North America, suddenly it's just a free-for-all and they're all fighting. Well, the guys from the north just won, right? But no, here's the thing, is that when South America and North America finally meet up at the Isthmus of Panama there, that had huge consequences for Earth's climate. Because it used to be that ocean currents would move in between North and South America. It used to be that that's an open strait. You can get ocean currents flowing through, and you cut that off. You cut off those ocean currents, it changes the global climate when that happens. Earth gets colder, for one thing. You get ice forming at both of the poles after that, because you're stopping the circulation of these warm ocean currents. That has big consequences. So it's another variable that you've got to try and account for. Some of the extinctions that occur after this might be because of competition. But some of them might also be because the climate is changing really dramatically. This world is crazy complex. Absolutely, Orange Boy. Yeah. Yeah. And yes, indeed, Eric. Talking about, Gabby, we're talking about this new paper. So yeah. Recent growing evidence indicates that these birds' extinction may be related to climatic and environmental changes rather than being the result of competitive displacement by immigrant placental mammals. So yeah, how do you figure out what actually causes these animals to go extinct? Well, let's take a look at the paper, and we'll see how they try to tease apart these variables and figure out what's actually the cause of extinction here. Yeah. Yeah. We should create the giant Pacific Isthmus and see what wacky effects we get from connecting Asia to the Americas, this mayor says. Well, I mean, that happened a few times. One of them is how we humans got to North America. And South America, too, by extension. We've had this happen multiple times, where there's a land bridge between North America and Asia. The Bering Strait like that. Yeah.
Dinosaurs hold a special magnetism for children.
And Reverend of Twitch, thank you for the 18 months of support. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. Good stuff. Yeah. Yeah. So this land bridge solidifies and then goes away many, many times during Earth history. Especially within the last 100 million years. And we can kind of tell from the fossil record sometimes. Because suddenly the animals in North America and Asia look very similar to one another. Yeah. This is also why this is almost certainly incorrect. So this is 66 million years ago. They show the western interior seaway here almost completely dried up. 66 million years ago. Oh, it's gone. You know, suddenly it's just all North America again. I was talking with Denver about this, and this is almost certainly incorrect. And I never really thought about this very hard, but Denver's like, think about it for a second. In the Hell Creek Formation, in Hell Creek times, we don't have a sudden influx of all of these weird dinosaurs coming out of nowhere. Whereas if this actually happened, if you had the seaway close up like that, suddenly everybody from Appalachia, from eastern North America, would have migrated in. You would have had all of these bizarre, unknown dinosaurs, previously unknown, showing up. And you don't have that. Which shows us that at the end of the Cretaceous, this seaway didn't actually close up. Laramidia and Appalachia were still separated when the asteroid hit 66 million years ago. And I think it'd be really difficult to argue against that, you know? So yeah, there you go, Casey. Yeah. And having spent some time in, in North Dakota back in, what was this, the end of October, and visited some fossil sites in North Dakota, that are just right below the KPG boundary, evidently. You've got dinosaur fossils mixed in with things like ammonites and other marine organisms. So right there on the coast, we know that we've got, at the very, very end of the Cretaceous, and like the uppermost Maastrichtian, it seems, in this part of North Dakota, we've got ocean critters there, which shows us that, yes, indeed, there was still the seaway right there, right up until when the asteroid hit. So it wasn't until maybe like the Paleocene or something, or later, that the seaway actually closed up. Really interesting, you know? But yeah. Anywho. And Charlie's Dragon says, I wonder what sort of different mammals and other critters survived were on each side. On the other hand, it might be too close to the impact to be a lot of survivors. Yeah. I think we're just starting to really think about these things in detail, Charlie's Dragon. It's an exciting time to be a paleontologist studying the KPG extinction. Yeah. Again, this is a basic thing. Like, was the seaway there when the asteroid hit, yes or no? And almost all of the reconstructions that you see of North America at this time, and Ron Blakey's maps, and a bunch of the other like paleogeographic maps that have been created, they show the seaway closed up. Like here, 66 million years ago, there's the asteroid impact site. And here, they show, no more seaway. But according to Denver and some other people that I've talked to who work in this part of the world in latest Cretaceous rocks, that's completely wrong. So yeah, interesting. Yeah. Anywho. Oh, and very cool, Dr. Tara. Nice. We've got... Okay. Is this a new taxon, or... Cool. We might take a look at this tomorrow, Dr. Tara. Thanks for posting. Anyway, we really got to get through this paper. I'm talking about this for like well over an hour now. Is anyone published on this? I don't know, Casey Snowart. Somebody needs to do that, I think. I think it's kind of an open secret among people who work on KPG stuff in the Dakotas and in Montana, especially the Dakotas. But yeah, you even see it stuff like this. If it's, we'll be able to find it on YouTube. There we go. This documentary,
based on Robert's finds and the latest evidence from other scientists, this is how the catastrophe might have unfolded. The asteroid is around 7 miles across.
This came out just a few years ago.
And traveling at close to 45,000 miles an hour.
So I don't know if they actually show...
causes an explosion
map
bigger than 1 billion Hiroshima atomic bombs.
I don't know if they show the contours of North America, but we'll see.
At Tanis, almost 2,000 miles away, it's completely silent. But at the impact site...
So, yeah, Gulf of Mexico right here. This is presumably the Yucatan Peninsula, is it? I actually can't tell.
The asteroid vaporizes. More than 3 trillion tons of rock are ejected into space in a blast of superheated violence.
Yeah.
Winds higher than 600 miles an hour. A colossal earthquake, followed by a ring of massive tsunamis.
Anyway, I don't think they actually... It must have been in the documentary itself. The whole thing is not available on YouTube, as far as I know. Looking for it here. I'm not seeing that. Anyway, I didn't particularly like that documentary either. Maybe for different reasons, Salamander, but there's some reason it seems to have a very healthy skepticism about some of the findings from the Tanis site. I'm not going to get into details right now, but oh boy, yeah. There's reason to be skeptical. That made it even less fun. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And Lukai says if the waterway is still there, yeah, the seaway, that tsunami would travel right through it. True. Yeah. Anywho. But yeah. Yeah. And Crimson Carnothoris is interesting that according to the map, North and South America weren't connected then. No, so North America and South America and Africa. Oh, you're saying North America and South America. Yeah. The idea there, Crimson Carnothoris, is that... Because I happen to think that... Well, here, I'll put it this way. Let me take a step back. Titanosaurs like Alamosaurus. These critters. Remember the Alamosaurus. This is North America's only titanosaur in the Maastrichtian at the very end of the Cretaceous period. North America's only sauropod, as far as we know. Where did it come from? Sauropods had been gone for a good while in North America. We don't have them in, like, the Campanian, it seems. We didn't have them prior to that. Sauropods had disappeared from North America for tens of millions of years. And then Alamosaurus shows up right before the end of the Cretaceous. So where did it come from? There's two major possibilities. Either they came across the land bridge from Asia, and we do have similar titanosaurs from Asia. So either they came across the land bridge into North America, and here I should... That looks better. Across the land bridge in North America, or some paleontologists think that they, since they also look similar to some of the titanosaurs from South America, something that they actually came up from South America. But in order to do that, they would have had to do some island hopping. There's probably not like a solid land bridge between North America and South America at the time for them to walk across on dry land. But these are animals that were probably capable of making crossings across, I don't know, a seaway. And maybe they could just kind of do this multiple times. We do know that this happens in Europe in the late Cretaceous. They get to move from island to island, and you get these populations of titanosaurs. Sometimes they stay on an island for a really long time, and they develop this insular dwarfism. They get smaller and smaller. Or sometimes, having been recently arrived, they just stay big for a while, at least. We do have an idea that titanosaurs are probably island hopping in other parts of the world, so it might make sense for them to do that, moving from South America to North America. Maybe at some point, just the right moment, geological time, we were able to kind of hop, skip, and jump into North America, and then gain a foothold here, and then you get Alamosaurus up here in North America at the end of the Cretaceous. But whether they came over from Asia or South America is still hotly debated, and that's one of those things that I was talking about with Matt LaManna in the field. He was out with us in Wyoming last year. I wonder if we can find a clip there. Oh, and Nerduino is here, is he? Hello, Nerduino. I hope you're having a great day. Good to see you. If anybody's not yet following Nerduino, you're missing out. He, former NASA scientist, does astronomy and space science, and talks about rocket launches, streams rocket launches and stuff too here on Twitch. Give him a follow if that sounds interesting to you. He does some extraordinary science outreach. Really good stuff. He's a good guy. Give Nerduino a follow if you're not yet.
Definitely, yeah.
Does Matt talk about titanosaurs here? Let's see.
And shoot, I've told you this already, but when I was a kid, there is this TV show that my dad taped for me called The Lost Dinosaurs of Egypt. I think I was about 10 years old, and I thought this was the coolest thing in the world. This group of paleontologists go out to Egypt to try and sort of rediscover some of these mysterious Egyptian dinosaurs, many of which...
Here we go.
Hadrosaurs and ceratopsians never replaced titanosaurid sauropods in the southern hemisphere like they did in the north.
Fantastic question. Well, I think in the case of ceratopsids, I think the answer is reasonably simple, in that I don't think they ever got there.
Here, I got to run to the bathroom. I'll be right back, okay?
No definitive evidence of ceratopsids anywhere in the southern hemisphere.
Yeah.
I could go on a tangent about Notoceratops bonarellii. This is a lower jaw that was found in the early 20th century from actually my collaborators in my field area near Lago Coahuapi in Chubut province in Argentina.
Or Serendipitoceratops from Australia.
Well, yeah. I mean, but even if Serendipitoceratops is legit, and it
would be a Leptoceratopsid.
Probably isn't. It's some kind of non-ceratopsid ceratopsian.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Notoceratops was a jaw that was found in Patagonia near localities where I work, but it's since been lost. It was found more than 100 years ago. It's been lost. Nobody can double check it, and I think most of us think that it was probably a hadrosaur jaw. That brings me to the second point. So hadrosaurs are a little bit more complicated. They never did truly replace titanosaurs, but they certainly lived in places like Patagonia, North Africa. So far, those are the only two definitive places in the southern hemisphere. But hadrosaurids clearly got around very effectively. They seem to have been dinosaurs that were really effective at dispersing, and they did, I would say, partly probably come to occupy some niches that were formerly occupied by sauropods, and in particular in Patagonia, potentially North Africa as well. So for instance, there are now, from about 75 million years onward, there are multiple species of Patagonian hadrosaurid. And so, so they definitely were, I think, of course, there's only so much eco space to go around. They definitely were filling some niches that formerly were filled by titanosaurs in Patagonia, and probably also North Africa as well. What's interesting is, especially in Patagonia, we don't really know the story in North Africa as well yet, but in Patagonia, we have a pretty good fossil record of dinosaurs from about from the early Cretaceous, so the early part of the Cretaceous period, all the way through to the end, more or less. I mean, there are some holes here and there, but it's a pretty good record, especially as Southern Hemisphere records go. There's not a scrap of evidence of hadrosaurids before about probably something like 72-ish million years ago. So around what we call the Campanian-Maastrichtian boundary, and that to me.
And so these rocks that were that are behind us right here are about that same age, which is kind of funny that he says it. This is also probably Campanian-Maastrichtian boundary, the Almond Formation of Wyoming, where we're digging. I think this is the Eagle Sandstone just above the Almond, but you get the idea. These rocks are going to be about 72 million years old.
Me suggests that they got there. If they were there all along, we should have them. We should have them. So that to me suggests they came from someplace else. And in my mind, the most likely place is North America itself.
Yeah. Just like the titanosaurs came up north.
Exactly.
Like Alamosaurus gets to North America.
Alamosaurus is, in my mind, there is no doubt that Alamosaurus is descended from South American ancestors. That's a controversial hot take in sauropod circles.
Really?
But there's another school of thought that suggests that things like Episthoscelicaudia and Alamosaurus are related to each other. But I don't.
So Episthoscelicaudia is from Mongolia. Yeah. There we go. That's this chunky guy, like we were talking about last week. There's a particularly rotund illustration of this sauropod. But yeah. This guy's from Mongolia. So some sauropod workers think that this is where Alamosaurus came from Episthoscelicaudia, or from a close relative in Mongolia.
Hot take in sauropod circles.
Really?
But there's another school of thought that suggests that things like Episthoscelicaudia and Alamosaurus are related to each other. But I don't.
Interesting.
I mean, frankly, I don't buy it. I think to me, Alamosaurus is a South American titanosaur.
I mean, we don't have any remains of it or any other titanosaur from the late Cretaceous of North America any further north than like New Mexico, right?
Right. True. Yeah.
So,
there are reports. Well, so there is definitive Alamosaurus material from Utah, for instance.
Oh, right.
From the North Horn Formation.
True.
There's actually also a report of a sauropod tail vertebra from the Evanston Formation here in Wyoming.
Really?
Yeah, but I'm not a big believer because caudal vertebrae can be
not super diagnostic.
Yeah, exactly. So it could be a big hadrosaur or something like that. But long story short, I think ceratopsids never did that, never replaced titanosaurs because they didn't get to the southern hemisphere. Mm-hmm. But I think that hadrosaurs probably did replace ceratopsids to some, Titanosaurs to some degree.
Interesting. So you don't think it would be like a floral difference between the northern and southern hemispheres? Like
I mean,
conifer dominated versus angiosperm dominated, or something like that.
Very probably played a role, but what we know objectively is that hadrosaurs made it to southern South America and actually made it probably all the way to Antarctica. There's a tooth and a couple of bones from Antarctica that are likely those of hadrosaurids.
From the late Cretaceous.
Yeah, from the there's the tooth. I would say is basically a no doubter. It's it's either a hadrosaurid or some derived hadrosauroid.
Sure.
Anyway, if you want to continue watching this in-depth discussion about dinosaur biogeography, Matt Lamanna here is curator of paleontology, maybe curator of dinosaurs, at the Carnegie Museum of Natural History in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He is very much a bigwig, and we were really lucky to have him in the field with us this past June out there in Wyoming. Here's a link to that VOD right here. Yeah, hello Mini Pie, how are you doing? Hello. Yeah. Good to see you, Minnie. Good to see you, Minnie. Yeah. Excuse me. You ready to have some treats too? You come to collect payment, Mini Pie? Is that what's going on? Oh. Have cat impact. Oh. Good to see you, Mini Pie. Ooh, there's some good scritches. Yeah. And the Cataceous impact. There you go, Clairbury, yeah. Oh. Yeah. You gonna cause a mass extinction? Yeah, if we let you outside, you would cause a mass extinction, huh? Yeah. There'd be overturned cars and fire hydrants spewing water up into the sky. There'd be, houses ablaze, airliners falling out of the sky. Yeah, that's why we don't let you outside. Yeah, you'd be wreaking havoc. It'd be bedlam, chaos. Yeah. That's why we gotta keep you in here and keep you fed. So you don't get out there, huh? Ooh, look at all those. Good stuff. Yeah, excellent. Want to boop her notes so bad? Here, I could do that for you, Casey. Clicked it over here. Oh, did we get that on camera? I don't know if we did. Here. Hold still. Oh. I think she's. Oh, I thought you were gonna make your escape. Okay, she still is. All right. Well, she's left several fragments of cat slobber-covered treats on the desk. Let me clean up here real quick. Here, hang out with Matt Lamanna for a second until that's done.
Say that 5 times fast.
I know, exactly. Yeah.
The late Cretaceous.
Yeah, from the there's the tooth. I would say is basically a no doubter. It's it's either a hadrosaurid or some derived hadrosauroid.
Sure. Say that 5 times fast.
I know, exactly. So hadrosaurs did, I would say, displace titanosaurs to some degree, but they never displaced them entirely. Just the way that things like Allosaurus found a way to coexist with North American hadrosaurs.
Right, yeah.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yep.
That would also imply if they're in competition that they're feeding generally at the same kind of level, vertically at least.
Right. And, whereas, a giant titanosaur would feed at a much, much higher level than a ceratopsid or a hadrosaur.
Do you have a take on, what is the browsing height? Comfortable browsing height for a titanosaur? Are you a neck-up guy or, more closer to ground level?
I'm kind of agnostic, I would say. I think they could probably do both,
I kind of forgot I asked these questions. I'm kind of enthralled by this. So we're gonna watch this for another minute.
I think that there's, I think if your neck can reach the ground, and it has to reach the ground because you got to drink water exactly, right? Yeah, we've all seen giraffes with their legs splayed, and I just don't. And I think their necks were probably, I think Mike Taylor and others have provided some, quite a bit of evidence that, they probably weren't as restricted in neck movements as, say, Kent Stevens and Mike Parrish would have you believe. So, yeah, I think they probably had a really large what we call a feeding envelope, like the area over which they could feed. And, and that, if that was the case, they would be able to feed at higher levels, higher vertical levels, physical levels than a hadrosaurid would at the same time.
Makes a lot of sense, yeah. So we had another question, too.
He didn't say Cat Stevens, no. Kent Stevens. Who, here. Harry talks about Kent Stevens in this talk, I think.
Mechanism to the left.
So this right here is what Matt Lamano was referring to, actually.
Kent Stevens, once every week, I take a bullet for that man. I definitely am a disciple of Stevens' principles. And I was fortunate enough in some of my own research to sort of aspects of it that I think really supported the horizontal neck posture. How were they using their necks? And this was really challenged and studied, and I think what's probably the most important sauropod paper of the modern age. And this was work done by Kent Stevens and Mike Parrish. And what they did is they looked at computer models, so scans of sauropod neck bones. And what they did is they were studying what's called range of motion. So bone tells us the way that it moves. So, right, my elbow can only move this way. If my elbow could move the other way, I have a serious problem. Right, so bone dictates how it moves past one another. So what they did is in the computer, because it's a lot easier to actually manipulate two big sauropod vertebrae in the computer, is they looked at how these two bones could move past one another. Then they added another vertebra and another vertebra and another vertebra and so on and so on and so on until they got the whole neck. And they looked at how they could actually move. And amazingly, they found out that sauropods like Diplodocus, that the necks actually could move up and down only a little bit, but that they stuck out from the body horizontally, and it was great for moving side to side. So again, this horizontal, not vertical neck posture. They also did this for sauropods like Brachiosaurus and concluded that while Brachiosaurus had a more vertical neck posture than Diplodocus, no sauropods had that, that swan-shaped, telephone pole vertical neck posture.
Which is really interesting. So this is kind of what Matt Lamano was pushing back against when he was talking right here.
There's evidence that, they probably weren't as restricted in neck movements as, say, Kent Stevens and Mike Parrish would have you believe. So, yeah, I think they probably had a really large what we call a feeding envelope, like the area.
So anyway, show you this just to make the point that what we're talking about here, these disagreements between these researchers, this is at the bleeding edge of our understanding of dinosaurs. This is very like minutiae that we're arguing over. Things that are just at the frontier of our understanding. And we've got limited evidence for a lot of this stuff. When you use different methodologies to try and examine that evidence, sometimes you come up with different answers. Everybody's kind of approaching this from a different angle. And so anytime that you see that, you get scientists who know what they're doing, who come to different conclusions about something, that's often an indication that, like, the amount of evidence that we have is pretty sparse. And science is this ongoing process. We're trying to, especially in dinosaur paleontology, we're trying to figure out as much as we can based on very limited information. So you're going to have some disagreements, you're going to have some uncertainties. It's just how it works. And that's, I think, exciting. That we can still have these big mysteries in our field, things that we still don't know. We will know them eventually. Somebody will figure these things out. Maybe it's somebody watching this broadcast right now who will one day figure out definitively what the neck posture was for different sauropods and what that means for their paleoecology and their physiology, their evolution. We don't know it yet. Did they actually have upright necks like this? Or no? What were they capable of? We're still figuring this out. That should be encouraging, but like, that's a mystery that is still yet to be solved. Get out there and solve it. Anyway. Yeah. Some have a ball in their neck vertebrae. Kind of, Ms. Artwills. Are you talking about the occipital condyle on the back of the skull? Or are you talking about, like, the articulating ends of the vertebrae? Yeah. Anyway, Lukai, thanks for being here. I appreciate you. Anyway, and we're sure they're not like ostrich necks? Ungoy? Yes. Ostrich necks are extraordinarily flexible. To the point where, like, they can just do crazy, crazy things with their necks. They can practically tie their necks into a knot. And their necks tend to be... They don't have the same kinds of, like, flexibility restrictors like a sauropod neck does. Yeah. They also have a lot of cartilage in their necks. So... Here we go. Let's see here. Ostrich... 6.3% of the... How does this work? Anywho, but yeah, the necks of ostriches have been studied with reference to dinosaurs. If you want to read more about this, here, I don't want to dwell on this too long. There's a link to the SVPOW page. This is the Sauropod Vertebrate Picture of the Week blog, which is by Matt Wadle and Mike Taylor. This one's from 2013. Yeah. So how thick was the intervertebral cartilage in sauropods? At the moment, no one really knows. Yeah. So trying to figure out how much cartilage dinosaurs had between their vertebrae is important for understanding the flexibility and also just understanding the overall length of the animal. If you've got a lot of cartilage between each vertebra, that can add up over a long neck. If you've got a lot of vertebrae in your neck and a lot of cartilage in between any two vertebrae, that can significantly lengthen your critter. So finding that sort of thing is important. but it's tricky when all you've got is fossils, and usually you've got very incomplete fossil skeletons. So yeah. So no osteological correlates have been identified. Osteological correlates are like features of the bone that would tell you how much cartilage is in between. We don't have that. We don't have an indicator of that yet. But that doesn't mean they don't exist. One thing I would love to see is a serious attempt to analyze cartilage thickness across a broad range of mammals and to examine the corresponding dry bones to see whether, in fact, there are correlates which could be informative in this respect. One lesson that Matt and I have learned over and over again is that there's often plenty of data in places that are out in the open, but where no one's thought to look. So this would be a really cool, like, master's thesis project or even a PhD project, just looking at Moon Pie. Hello, Moon Pie. Looking at the amount of cartilage in different living animals, and then also looking at the length of the vertebrae and just trying to figure out if there's a pattern there that you could extrapolate out to extinct critters like sauropod dinosaurs. That would be a really neat project. Nobody's done it yet, to my knowledge. Come here, Moon Pie. Hey. Let's see if we can get her to make an appearance. Yeah, we'll see if we get a cat trick today. That would be lovely, Moon Pie. Do you want to come say hello? Hey. She's just kind of sniffing around my office right now. She found the cutting boards. Oh, come on over. Here, see if I can ignore her for a while. Maybe she'll come up. Hey. Psst, psst, psst. Or can I pick you up? Let me come get you. Oh, Moon Pie, hey. Oh, what's that? Oh, Moon Pie loves plants. Do you want to come up here on the desk? Hey. Yeah, come on up. Here we go. Hey. Moon Pie, can I pick you up? There we go. There you are. It's Moon Pie. Hey, Moon Pie. Oh, good to see you. So you can see where her foreleg has been shaved right there, where she had the IV during her surgery. And then she's been shaved under here too. And I don't know if we could see her scar. But it's good to see you, Moon Pie. It's good to see you. Yeah. Thanks for saying hello. Thanks for saying hello. Oh, okay, I'll see you later. Anyway, that's a cat trick right there, everybody. That is a cat trick. Yeah. We don't often have all three cats in the same stream. So, how many is that up until this point? Yeah, and she is doing a lot better, Lenina. She is doing a lot better. 18. So we've had, to this day, we have had 18 cat tricks.
To this day!
Not that many. Given that I've lived here for over a year now. Been streaming here for over a year now. But yeah. Yeah. Not over 9,000, no. Not yet, Lenina. But, this is pretty good, though. Yeah. Anywho, and Moon Pie is back to her old self, Dan the BC Man. She's... Yeah, that's actually a lovely indication. She's out exploring the house, going all over the place. She's back to her old self again. So that's pretty excellent. It's been 2.5 weeks now since she was in surgery. Oh, and I can show you. Here. I can show you what caused that mishap in the first place. Moon Pie one of her favorite things to do is to just eat random stuff that she finds on the floor. And somebody, wasn't me, because I don't use this. I use the little plastic flossers with the toothpick on the end. I don't use dental floss, because in the old apartment where I lived, we couldn't have dental floss because a roommate's cat would try and eat it, so like it wasn't allowed. But this was pulled out of Moon Pie during her surgery, the length of dental floss right here. Yeah, so that's what caused the whole debacle. Again, wasn't me, but we have this. So this was luckily, Lordy and Ios have got pet insurance, so this didn't completely break the bank, but otherwise it would have been very, very expensive. So there's the dental floss that was pulled out of Moon Pie's intestines during surgery. And look at what I got. I put it on the wish list for a while, and then I thought, no, I'm gonna get it now. It's an epoxy resin set so that I can actually take this and encase it in epoxy as kind of a souvenir of this whole ordeal. Once I have some time, I'll put that together and make like a coffee table coaster out of it. As a reminder to everybody, you know. And Renee 77, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Just as a reminder to, you know, just be conscientious and also it's just a reminder of this, like, you know, misadventure with Ms. Moon Pie. A reminder of how much we love Moon Pie, too. That we would make sure that we take her to the doctor and make sure that this gets resolved. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, if the surgery and pet insurance cost a ton, why not keep it? Lol, says Moslith. That's the idea. So maybe I'll even do that on stream. Maybe we'll do the resin thing on stream one of these days. We'll see. But yeah. Yeah. And Yara says, how did you notice that something was wrong? So I didn't at first. It was... Well, first, Ios actually caught Moon Pie trying to eat some floss and pulled it out of her. And then a few days later, Moon Pie was just acting really sluggish. She just wasn't acting like her usual self. And so, immediately, Ios and Lordy and I thought, oh, shoot. Maybe she ate something that she wasn't supposed to. We didn't quite know what was going on, but we knew that we needed to take her to the vet. And, yeah. And it turned out she had eaten some floss. So, yeah. Yeah. That was a trip. There you go, boom shakalaka. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so just a reminder to anybody with dogs or cats or other pets in your home, or children for that matter, most expensive kinds of pets, make sure you don't have a bunch of stuff lying around on the ground that your non-human or human loved ones might eat, you know? Maybe just do like a mental checklist, like, oh, did I leave anything on the ground? You run through your living space real quick and just make sure that everything's good, you know? 'Cause you don't want a situation like this happening. It was really kind of touch and go there for a while. It was, I was really shaken up because I didn't know that Moon Pie was going to make it. So yeah, do yourself a favor. Make sure that Make sure that there aren't things lying around that might get ingested by your loved ones. Better safe than sorry for sure. There you go, Casey Snowart. Yeah. Oh, and Winklebot says, can I ask a question that may seem silly? It's not a question that's silly at all, Winklebot. That's a really good question. Is petrified wood a fossil? Or how does fossilization differ from lithification or fossilization? Asking for a friend. So I have asked this to some paleobotanists before, and the short answer is petrified wood is fossilized wood. There could be slightly different ways in which it's preserved. But you don't hear a lot of paleobotanists use the phrase petrified wood because it's just fossil wood. It's fossilized wood. We may have actually asked this question live on stream to a fossil plant scientist. Let me see if I can find that clip. I want to say I asked this to Andy during a stream. Let's see here.
So it's fun to be back out doing something that I haven't really spent a lot of time.
Here we go.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you want to introduce yourself to the chat
Oh
real
yeah,
quick,
hey,
Tim?
my name's Mandy, and I work at Carnegie Museum of Natural History. You've been chatting a lot with my husband, Matt LaManna, recently. So I work in our...
So we had Matt earlier talking about titanosaurs and, South American dinosaurs and all that. Mandy is married to Matt.
Education department, but my background, I started out really interested in fossil leaves, so I spent several years doing fossil field work looking for leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's fun to be back out doing something that I haven't really spent a lot of time doing in the past 20 years.
Awesome.
But I'm also a field educator. I love to teach students about geology and paleontology.
And you spent a ton of time out here in Wyoming.
Yeah, nearly almost all of my summers since maybe 1999, with breaks here and there. Mostly over in the Laramie area, co-teaching a field course focused on Jurassic dinosaurs. So.
Awesome. Yeah. So out of everyone on our field crew here, Mandy probably knows the most about Wyoming, probably by a pretty wide margin.
No, I seriously doubt that's true, but I have my fun facts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I were an interviewer worth my salt, I would have asked her. It's a golden opportunity to ask a classic question. Is there a difference between fossilized wood and petrified wood? Because I've seen in some museum display panels before, petrified wood is where the interior structure of the wood is obliterated, where the permineralization process just kind of destroys the internal wood grain and everything, and that's wiped out, as opposed to fossilized wood, where the interior structure remains. Let's see if I asked that. Because I want to say that I've heard from a paleobotanist that that's total bunk. But let's see.
And is fossilized wood called petrified wood? It depends who you ask, Hugh. Yeah, I kind of use the terms interchangeably. I've seen in a museum placard in Rapid City, South Dakota, that fossilized wood preserves like the internal texture of the wood versus petrified wood, where the internal texture is obliterated through permineralization. I don't know if that's actually a distinction that paleobotanists make. Maybe we'll go ask Mandy about that, actually.
Please ask that.
But, and there you go. Oh, yeah, 8 more days, something like that. Yeah.
Go ask her right now.
Close out some of these sites as best we can.
Go ask her.
We also keep finding new and awesome things. So we're going to keep working for as long as we have time. And we might have...
Casey Snort says you have a memory like a steel trap. Sometimes that steel trap feels awful rusty.
Some late nights coming up. We'll see as we try and close out some of these sites. But I'm really lucky I was able to stream today. Bring you all happy.
Oh, come on. I do ask that question,
As a
right?
plant person, can I put you on the spot?
Oh boy.
Is there a difference between petrified wood and fossilized wood?
That's a really good question. We were talking about that when I was training some of our museum staff recently, and maybe someone can jump in who's thinking about this as well. But I think like petrification is a subset of fossilized wood. So we've seen some wood here that is carbonized. So really it's just kind of all carbon now, and you can see that it was wood, but you can't see a lot of detail. But wood that has been mineralized in the wood, I think petrification is maybe a general term, or sort of a lay person's term. You know, so it's not a.
That's what I always think of it as too.
Maybe not a technical term. But when minerals fill in the pore spaces, then you can get really fine detail preservation, including tree rings. So I've seen tree rings on fossilized wood in Yellowstone National Park. It's really incredible. With the hand lens, you can jump down on a log cross section and just see gorgeous tree rings preserved. So I think maybe it might be one type of fossilization. Here we've got carbonized wood in some of the layers that the leaves are above and below, and so that's another type of fossilization. That's maybe how I would answer it. I'm sure other people would have other things they'd add to that as well.
Yeah, when I was in the School of Mines Museum in South Dakota, they had a display. I don't know if it's actually written by anybody who knows anything about paleobotany, but they were saying that the display said that petrified wood is where like the interior texture, like structure of the wood is obliterated by permineralization, and fossilized wood you can still have like the rings and stuff in there.
I'm cool with that.
I don't know.
I like it.
Yeah. I figured there wouldn't be like a hard and fast answer, so thank you for humoring us.
Yeah. I'm happy to think it through, and would love to hear if anyone else has other thoughts on it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, Manny.
Yeah. Have a good one.
So there you go, Wigglebot. I hope that's a satisfying answer. I know it's not the most cut and dry. But yeah. So the fossilization replaces and preserves the structure, while petrified lithifies destructively in a way.
Let's protect our fossils, because if they're removed, America loses them forever.
Wigglebot, thank you for subscribing. That is a recurring subscription right there. Thank you. Enjoy all of those emotes. Use them far and wide, as much as your heart desires. Enjoy not having to watch any ads for as long as you choose to stay subscribed. Enjoy the knowledge that in some small way you're helping support science outreach. And you're putting food on the table of this paleontologist. So thank you, Wigglebot. I appreciate you. Yeah. So I think the general consensus we got here, like we're to take a conclusion from this.
Obliterated by petrified.
It would be that petrified is more of a layman's term. It's not really like a scientific term. Yeah, you can get various degrees of fossilization of wood that can preserve varying degrees of detail. But it's not like it's not a difference in kind between fossilization and petrification. It's the same process. It's just more of like a spectrum between, like, what level of detail do you get, I guess. Let's take a look at some of these lovely carbonized leaves that Mandy was excavating here.
He knows a thing or two about them, and is finding some right now. So the way
I
find fossil
agree,
plants.
Wigglebot. Wigglebot says, keep up the good work. Science communication in more modern forms is going to be very important going forward. I agree. Yes. That's what I'm trying to do. Thank you for helping make that possible, Wigglebot. I appreciate you.
Did you ever, though, have a moment where it was kind of heartbreaking on
No.
destroying? Never.
No, glue is cheap.
Yara Legeg, thank you so much for the Prime sub. Thank you for the 3 months there. Yara, I appreciate the support. Thanks for helping keep me here online. Appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you.
An environment like this, goes like this.
Whoop. Sometimes the block breaks in the wrong spot.
It's gonna break where it wants to break. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I
look at
was
that.
working on this side.
Oh my goodness.
And actually, that just broke exactly where I wanted it to. So
That is
now
gorgeous.
I have both part and counterpart of this.
Look at that.
Nearly complete fossil leaf.
That way. Nice. You can see the veins on it, Chat.
Yeah, exactly.
Gorgeous.
And so this one's a keeper because we have the base, a lot of the edge of the leaf. We can see multiple orders of venation, the primary vein, the secondaries, the veins that run between those. And so that allows us to be able to compare it to other leaves and help identify and compare them to each other. So those
Very
are keepers.
cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So this is a block I just pulled out. We found a really good leaf layer a few days ago, and I pulled out the last block of that really good leaf layer, and I'm working my way through trying to see if we can pull any more good leaves out before we wrap up this quarry.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for showing us.
Yeah. And I heard you were talking about insect damage earlier.
Yeah, do we have some?
No, I looked through everything I had here, and I couldn't find any really good examples. But I can kind of show you how you would identify it if you did find leaf damage. So you would be looking at a leaf,
Blue is cheap.
and you'd be looking for holes. And if you find a hole, the key to showing that it's something that happened to the leaf while it was still alive is looking for a rim of darkened tissue around the hole.
Kind of healing?
Almost like scar tissue.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so we call that reaction tissue, reaction margin, or
Gotcha.
reaction rim. And so you can see that in the middle for hole feeding, along the edges for edge feeding, or sometimes insects will eat all of the tissue but leave the veins behind, and that's skeletonization is the name of that type of insect feeding damage. And that tells a whole lot about different groups of insects that are alive at different times. And so there are people who just study insect damage on fossil leaves. They look across different boundaries, like the Cretaceous Paleogene extinction event, to see how insects were affected by the same events that affected non-avian dinosaurs. So they can see like certain types of feeding might decrease or even go extinct at the boundary, or other things might become more abundant afterwards. So that's one cool thing you can do with fossil leaves to understand the broader environment. Sometimes we may never find an insect fossil, but we'll find tons of their traces and have an understanding of how they lived and what they ate.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So there are whole lineages of insects, like I think maybe even orders or suborders of insects where we don't have any of their body fossils. All we have is feeding traces stretching back maybe 100 million years. Where it's like, we know that they're there. We've never found the actual bodies of the insects themselves, but the very particular feeding traces that they leave are identical to the feeding traces, that those insects leave today. So we can kind of see their calling card stretching all the way back into the Cretaceous period. It's pretty neat. Like, for some of these groups, their entire fossil record is just feeding traces, which is pretty neat. Anyway, the study of fossil plants is really, really interesting stuff, very important, and there's a link there to that VOD if you want to watch the rest of that. Pyrokitties Tavern, beautiful petrified stumps. Oh, from Florissant, very cool, Pyrokitties, yeah. Nice. So anyway, Winklebot, See, my brain kind of reasons that it has to do with structure preservation, how the mineral precipitates out. I do a dive and meet with my professor at office hours this week to see if she has more info. Yeah, do that. I'd love to hear back what she says, actually. Yeah. Cool stuff. Looked like a winter tent due to the caterpillars swarming and eating all the leaves on the aspens and oaks. Yeah. Oh, it looked like winter. Gotcha, Winklebot. Yeah. Sometimes you just get a population explosion of insects like that. Like, the previous generation had a really, really good year and they laid eggs everywhere. And then you just get, their young hatch out of their eggs and they just cover the landscape. You get that. You get these ebbs and flows in population. These population booms and crashes. And yeah, I remember my first field season out in Montana, 2011. That was just an absolute banner year for grasshoppers. They were just absolutely everywhere.
Wasn't it a meteor?
They're all meat eaters. Meteor. Take it easy.
Fedorasaur and their 6 raiders are all meat eaters too.
Thank you for the raid, Fedorasaur. How was your stream? I hope it was really good. Welcome back to Paleontologizing. What's shaking? It's good to see you here. Tell me how your stream went. I'd love to hear about it. Welcome back. We're supposed to be talking about histology of forest rakids and other, big carnivorous birds, and we've been all over the place. Which is, I'm not mad about that. It's been a fun stream. Sometimes these are the most fun, which is kind of, you never know where it's going to go. So, stream was so much fun. Excellent, Fedorasaur. Glad to hear it. I love your dino light. Thank you, Fedorasaur. It actually works well now. Now that I've got a dimmer switch on it. Yeah. I had some other ones that didn't work super well because they were just way too bright. Now I can use those ones. I've got a pterosaur, a tyrannosaur, and another sauropod, and they were too bright. They would just overwhelm the camera sensor. So I got a USB dimmer switch. Now they work like a charm. This is not one of those ones that needed to be dimmed, but I think I have this turned all the way up. But now the other ones work too. Anyhow, yeah. When we remove a dead oak here, one might be able to see the rings and how little growth there was in those. Yeah, Wigglebot, yeah. Yeah. Here, speaking of growth rings, let's get back to our paper we're supposed to be going over here about the terror birds and their histology. So yeah, again, for anybody just joining us, or anybody who joined us within the last 3 hours now, almost. Terror birds are these often gigantic, flightless, carnivorous birds that lived during mostly the latter part of the Cenozoic, age of mammals. These are the guys who said, "Age of mammals? No, it's still the age of dinosaurs. Let's become the biggest, baddest carnivores around. Let's really wreak havoc on these mammalian communities. Let's show everybody we still got it." These are terror birds. Very cool critters. So by cutting the bones open and doing what we call histological analysis, looking at growth rings in the bones, you can start to understand these animals' biology a bit better than you can from just looking at the exterior of the bones. Big old dang old beaky bros, says Mayerspace. Yeah. They're like super shoebills. Were they as mean? They were meaner, Wicklebot. Far meaner. So we know that these guys, unlike shoebills, which today mostly just eat lungfishes, some of those other fishes too, and I guess they'll eat snakes and they'll eat whatever else. These guys, they ate large mammals. If there were people around at the time, they'd probably eat people too. Yeah. They were the biggest, baddest critters around at the time. Yeah. I mean, they ate things like horses at the time. They were pretty formidable critters. They really were. And yeah, some of them got really big. Really big. Let's see here. Drangdon says, what do I think they what? Strong, independent birds who don't need no flight. There you go, Wigglebot. Yeah. Their ancestors became flightless, and they just ran with that. You know, literally, you could say. They ran with that. Yeah. Running after things like horses and eating them up. That probably doesn't want a cracker. He wants to crack skulls, says Crimson Carnotaurus. Yes. There's some reason to believe that some of these animals, they may have actually cracked the skulls of their prey with like a just really forceful peck. It may have been just like, pow, one knockout blow. And you've taken out a horse or a sloth or a whatever. A toxodont or something. But yeah. Yeah. Drangdon says, what do you think of the theory that they co-evolved with flying birds? So their ancestors were flying birds, Drangdon. As far as we know, all of the birds that live right now evolved from a flying ancestor. So at the end of here. Let's see if I can find you an image that kind of illustrates that evolutionary bottleneck. Birds of the Mesozoic. Nope. So there were a bunch of different groups of birds at the end of the Cretaceous period, at the end of the age of dinosaurs. Here we go. Is this what I'm looking for? Malbertonicus? Let's see. Gallery. Where's the giant bird phylogeny? Might not be on here. Tree of birds. Here we go. Yeah, so this is an evolutionary family tree of all of these bird groups. These are all living birds. And then, as you can see, there's this big radiation that happened right here. Neoaves. And then, right here, too. Galliform birds. Yeah, so the point is, I guess this kind of helps illustrate it. The guys who are in color here are the ones that are still around today. It's all of these. And then the ones that are just an outline are, non-avian dinosaurs and extinct birds are the ones who are not colored in. They're just outlines. So those are the extinct ones. Got no color. But here you've got this big radiation. This is right after the extinction of the non-bird dinosaurs and most of the birds. It's like probably 9/10 of all of the bird species on Earth at the end of the Cretaceous died out when that asteroid hit. Birds almost went completely extinct. There were only a few species that survived, as far as we know. And all of those species that survived were birds that could fly. So all of the birds today, including your flightless ones, including penguins and ostriches and cassowaries and flightless cormorants, obviously, everybody else, all those flightless birds, they all evolved from an ancestor that could fly. That includes the terror birds, too. Their ancestors absolutely could fly. I think we're still kind of figuring out where exactly they belong on the bird family tree. Yeah, Forest Rakidae. I'm not sure we've got a great understanding of where precisely they belong on the bird family tree, but I think they are they neornithine birds? Classification. During the early Cenozoic, after the extinction of the non-bird dinosaurs, mammals underwent an evolutionary diversification. Some bird groups around the world developed a tendency toward gigantism. Some bird groups got really big too. This included Gastornithidae, Drumornithidae, Paleonathinae, and Forest Rachidae. Forest rachids are an extinct group within the Seriemaformes. Okay. So the red-legged Seriema today is the closest living relative of the terror birds. This makes sense. So we'll find them on our extant tree of life. Black-legged Seriema. Yeah, there you go, Charlie's Dragon. Thank you. Yeah. I suspected that was the case, but I didn't know for sure that they're considered Seriemaformes. So forest rachids, our terror birds, seem to be part of this group. And their closest relatives are things like falcons and mouse birds, I guess? Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, Seriemaformes. And Seriemas today, I think, can fly. Let's see. They forage on foot and run from danger rather than fly, although they can fly short distances and they roost in trees. So yeah, if these guys can fly, that means absolutely the direct ancestors of the forest rachids could fly too. They just got so big, I guess, and being big was more important than being volant. So they traded flight for size. And they did really well with that for a while. Yeah. Anywho. Yeah. And Casey Snowart says, imagine a terror bird tossing its prey like a Seriema. Yes. Holy moly. Here, check this out.
Oh, he's beautiful. He is.
So, imagine this is not a plastic alligator. Imagine this is maybe a small horse. Or something like that. Yeah, scale it up 10 times, mega scary. Yeah. Bow! Oh, man. It's like, why won't you die? Yeah. Pretty wild. And I like how he really aims for the rock, too. It's like, I know that rock is really hard. Harder than the floor. You can use that like an anvil. Yeah. Yeah. You get the idea. Getting cracked on a rock by a bird bigger than an NFL lineman sounds awful, says Mono Latour. Yeah, that'd be curtains, you know? It'd be a bad way to go, but at least it'd be quick, right? Yeah. Is it the same kind of bird that threw the golf balls? I think Rushwing, yeah. Yeah. There we go. I think that's a red-legged Seriema. But he's thinking that's an egg, you know? Because, you know, it looks like an egg. It's a golf ball. Normally this works. What's going on? I want to eat my delicious egg. Yeah. Here they are doing this at... Well, there's a wiffle ball, but yeah. It's a more red-legged Seriamus. These ones are pretty young. They're 3 months old and they still look like that. That's interesting. They might have slower growth than other kinds of birds. They do have a bit more growing to do. Yeah, they get fairly large. Huh. Where are these from? They're from South America. Penny HY, yeah. Yeah. So, Seriamiformes. I think these guys all might be... Let's see. Extant members, Seriamas, the living ones, are only known from South America, but fossils of many extinct taxa are also found in other continents, including Europe and North America. Yeah. Seriamiformes. So this is the group that includes both these Seriamas, like I just showed you, and the terror birds, too. The forest rhynchids. Yeah. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, we'll take a quick stroll through this paper. There's some of those... I always love the polarized light. They shine through these histoslides. You know, it helps you really pick out differences in thickness and composition of the bone. You know, it looks like this under non-polarized light. But you put that... I think that's what's going on here. But you put that polarized light through and it really just illuminates it with different colors. Yeah. And Figment Pudding. Anyone with good bass in their sound system, take a gander at cassowary rumbles and get... Yeah, emus, too. I was lucky enough to be able to visit a place in Solvang, California, a few years back. Ostrich World, I think is what they call it. This would have been, I think, October 2020.
Really spectacular. Spared no expense.
George from NY gifted a tier 1 sub to Doc.
Thank you, George from New York. I appreciate that, George. Thank you, thank you. Good stuff. There we go. Here's me with the ostriches. I think this is Lordy or Ios filming. Yeah. And let's see if we can hear those emus here. Yeah. Drumming noise that they do comes from like deep in their chest. So quiet. Do the drumming thrumming sound. Hear it a little bit. They can do it really loudly so you can hear it for miles. I don't know if I really got good footage of them doing that. But maybe here? Hey
little.
there. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. How cool is that? It's cool to imagine a terror bird doing this. Or a non-avian dinosaur, for that matter. Yeah. Cool stuff. Cool stuff. The rumbles are so threatening, says Death Stars. It's an otherworldly kind of sound. And also, when you're there, you kind of feel it in your own chest, too. It's unusual. It really is. Yeah. Right before it pile drives you into a rock, says Casey Moore. Yeah. Yeah. Imagine wandering down a nice foresty trail and then you hear that. Yeah. Yeah. Reminds me of this. Oh, feathered dinosaurs aren't scary. Feathered dinosaurs aren't scary. Look. They do incorporate that's like it's subtle in there, but there's a little bit of that like very avian thrumming like that. Very cool. Yeah. And Bondo Latour's vocalization from multi-ton dinosaurs must have had enough bass in them to stir the dust. I imagine, yeah. 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 Good stuff. Anyway, well, here, we didn't really have much of a chance today to go over our other pieces of fossil news, but this one paper about histology of terror birds has offered, I think, more than enough discussion. This has been pretty great. So again, if you'd like a link to this, it is open access. There's a link right there. And with that, I started stream much later today than I was hoping to. It's about time for me to wrap this up. It's like almost 6:30 here where I live, and I've got some stuff I got to take care of this evening. So it's time to wrap up today's stream. But hopefully tomorrow I can start on time, especially now that I don't have a dentist appointment tomorrow. They canceled on me because they don't like my insurance anymore, so on the bright side, I can get ready for stream a little bit earlier. So that'll be nice. Here's an Archaeopteryx to run under our credits here. And hang on a second. There we go. Thank you to everybody who's about to be named in our credits. Thanks for helping keep me here online. Thanks for everything. we're going to find somebody to raid into here real quick. See if we can continue our science for the evening. Who else is on right now? Let's see. I see Science Streams. I think it's just started. We'll go right into Balint. Doing some model building for Tinker Tuesday today. Good stuff. Thank you, everybody, here in our credits. New followers, new subscribers. Thanks for choosing to support Science Outreach here on Twitch. I really appreciate it. Resubscribers, gifters, and cheerers, thank you for your generosity helping share this stuff with other folks here on this platform. I appreciate that tremendously. Thank you to the moderators who work so hard to keep this a safe and welcoming community for everybody. Answer people's questions, everything that you do, mods. I appreciate you very much. Thank you, Raiders Fedorasaur. Thank you for that raid. Thank you to the viewers and the question askers, the enthusers and the chatters and the lurkers. Thanks for helping keep those viewer numbers up. It means a lot. It really does. I'll be streaming again tomorrow, and hopefully I'll be feeling even better tomorrow. Getting over this stomach bug. Hopefully I'll be at 100% tomorrow. All right, you all take